Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with another Reddit story for you. This one comes from the AITAH sub and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Wanting to Divorce My Postpartum Wife? With 2 updates. It's stupid to think I'm at this point, but here I am. My soon-to-be ex-wife, 28 female, and I, 29 male, have wanted kids for years and were thrilled when she finally got pregnant last year. From day one, I wanted to be the most supportive husband and future father that I could. Her father was never involved in her life. I used to work as a tech in labor and delivery, and my brother, to put it kindly, is not the most involved father. I saw too many problems up close when it came to lacking husbands, and I would be damned before I made the same mistakes. The problem is, roughly 4 weeks into her pregnancy, everything started going downhill. She stopped wanting sex, fair enough. Hormones and stress make that a problem. I went full stop. But then she didn't want any physical interaction. No cuddling, no kissing, slowly becoming more and more distant. Her eating constantly changed and she was terrible about it. She would demand I get her something all day, then the moment I give it to her, she wants something else, screaming at me. Okay, again, hormonal issues, I get it, no problem. She never let me go to any appointments, no groups she went to, spent more time away, became cold and bitter, constantly angry at me. This went on for months. Slapped me a couple of times when I forgot one of her dozens of tasks she assigned me during the day. Stopped doing anything for the house a month into pregnancy. Sure, she's pregnant, I get it, moving around is hard, but she wouldn't even do laundry about 4 weeks in, and by 5 weeks, I did everything. I'm also the primary source of income. I barely sleep, I'm running on fumes. Made me sleep in the guest room, would always try to pick fights. I never raised my voice, my hand, or my tone. I sat there and constantly mentally reminded myself that this isn't her, and this would all be worth it. She didn't want me to make any baby decisions, no name, no work on the nursery, nothing. 1 month before she delivered, she yelled how effing useless I am and how I didn't do anything and that she's staying with her mother. She didn't let me get her anything, come check on her, threatened to divorce me and get a restraining order if I even called her. A couple of weeks back, I found out about the birth of my son from a Facebook post. Oh, hell no. Oh, no! She posted it with her mother and some family. It broke me. I tried to go to the hospital to visit. They had security kick me out. After months of outright hatred, anger, and abuse thrown at me 24/7, I had it. Odds are I'm not even on the birth certificate. I opened a new account and all of my deposits go there. I took half of our joint account money. She never bought baby stuff ahead of time. Who knows what that money was going towards? So now that she has to buy supplies for her son, she's used up every cent. I've gotten a lawyer. The house is mine. I'm the only one who spent money on it anyway. I've sent the rest of her stuff to her mother's house. I'm demanding a paternity test. I'm not spending another damn cent until I get verification that it's my son. I am absolutely divorcing her. She chose the stay-at-home life. If she's cheated, she's screwed. Her mother has money for a couple weeks' stay, not even close to enough for full-time support. If he is my son, I will absolutely be getting my rights as father for a relationship. Last week, my soon-to-be ex called. She was practically hyperventilating. She wanted to come home. She was crying how it was all a mistake. She's not staying with her mother. She's at a friend's house. She wants to come home. She wants our son to have his father. I told her I don't believe he is my son. Why the would she pull this shit if he is? Show me a paternity test and I'll do everything I can for him and him only. She wants to meet tomorrow at a park so I can talk to her. I said sure, so I can finally say everything I should have said months ago to her face. My parents are hoping that we can make up, but they absolutely understand if I won't. My brother is a deadbeat jackass, so I don't care what he has to say, but my sister thinks I should at least hear her out. There's an update. Now, I've talked a lot about how I imagine pregnancy being, and I can understand that there are things that happen that are not in character for people because your biology has changed during that time. I get it. Things can get weird, but to completely ice someone out and to treat them like absolute garbage that early, there's some red flags going on there. Something triggered that change in behavior. And maybe it was because it was someone else's. Maybe that's the cause of all of this. Now, the sudden turn on a dime where she wants to come home and it was all a big mistake. Wait, it's because that happened when she ran out of money. Of course she has a change of heart now that she needs you again. My biggest concern right now is for the baby. Like if she's got the baby, if she's couch surfing right now with a kid, that's a problem. All right, let's dive into it. Let's see what happens here. Update, it got complicated. Got complicated? It was already way complicated. Before I ended up chatting with her, I opened up to my parents and sister about what was happening in detail. My parents were flustered at me hiding the more unsavory details, to say the least, and are probably going to be checking up on me daily for the rest of the year to make sure I'm okay. My sister probably would have to be held back from thrashing her, so I had to get a friend to help with the chat since my sister would not be able to contain herself. So basically, within hours of the story going into the digital stratosphere, I called my wife back as quickly as I could to finally sit down and talk. We chose a local park this morning, and I had a friend of mine record the conversation from beginning to end. I was basically ready to hear the generic affair story and get out of Dodge. But of course, it got complicated. We met at a section with picnic tables and picked one as far away from other people as to avoid them getting wrapped up in any awkwardness. She looked terrible, haggard, stressed, and thankfully without the baby. She tried to have the big emotional chat and whatnot. I wasn't tearing up or acting like the hardened badass. I frankly was just wanting to figure out what this was all for. I didn't even get to ask the question before the floodgates spilled. I'm going to attempt to relay the story as best I can, because even looking back on the recording, it's a mess, but also it's because I don't 100% believe it. So fair warning, it could all be fake. This all started with her mother. As I said before, my wife's father was absent. He started off well, having 2 sons with her mother before her. When her mother got pregnant with her father went from being the picture-perfect guy he was at first and slowly changed into a negligent, abusive, unfaithful, and unsupportive jackass, ending with him disappearing when her mother was delivering. He's been in and out of prison since. No one knows why he did it. The impression her mother always gave me was a strong, resilient woman who withstood anything life threw at her and did anything for her kids. She has claimed to be in therapy for years. In reality, she has managed to conceal a deep hatred for men from outside of her sons. But according to my wife, there was favoritism towards her. My wife also found out she stopped therapy almost a decade ago, but never told anyone. Her mother seemed to always have some slight against me, and now I know why. She was never hostile, but certainly wasn't warm to me, and hearing about her secret hatred, I kind of knew where this was going. Roughly about half a year before she got pregnant, my mother-in-law slowly began sowing seeds of doubt and bitterness into my wife. Apparently, she had a full mental break. She told her about me staying late at work, possibly having an affair, or that I am providing the majority of the income, setting her up for a hard divorce. Everything my mother-in-law's husband did to her, she convinced my wife I would do to her, and she pumped this poison into her for months. My wife always idolized her mother, and compounding that with anxiety she suffered for years, she dove in deep. As soon as she got pregnant, like on the dot, she fell into a mental hole within days, and that's when her mother got a hold of her again. Hearing about her pregnancy apparently triggered something fierce in my mother-in-law, and it spiraled from there. She had my wife fully convinced it was happening again. Every single thing my wife did to hurt me was at the behest of my mother-in-law. Combined with pregnancy hormones, an undiagnosed mental illness she claims to have, no confirmation, and stress, she completely lost her mind. She 100% believed that I would bail, so she was punishing me first, culminating in her moving in with her mother and leaving me out of the birth. There's more. I gotta hydrate here. When I was sending the papers and starting the divorce proceedings, she kicked into full-blown postpartum depression. And when her mother finally got her, when she finally beat me, which I guess was her victory over her ex, did I mention she's effing crazy, she had no more use for my wife. The family involved in the birth included my mother-in-law's sister and my wife's brothers. While my mother-in-law and her sister knew what was going on, my brother-in-laws got fed the BS narrative my mother-in-law spun. When my mother-in-law was done with her plan, the entire facade came down and my brother-in-laws found out everything upon questioning my wife. They were horrified. Needless to say, postpartum, facing a very grueling divorce on her side, no longer welcome in our home, and having done everything to alienate me from my son at the behest of a broken lunatic really hit her like a truck. She torched her entire life because her mother is a broken shell of a human who used her to enact her own sense of justice. The very mother who washed her hands of her after she got what she wanted. Or at least, this is the story she gave me. Frankly, there are many holes in her story. The starting point of the pattern of abuse, the claims of who was involved in the delivery, my being absent from appointments, the friend, who she confirmed is female, she's staying with, and of course my alleged son's paternity. It seems way too crazy to be made up. Who the hell would go to the effort of making this up facing what she's facing? As soon as she's finished, she said she's setting up a paternity test and gave me the info I need. Within luck, it should be done in roughly a week or so once I do my part. She gave the most sincere apologies any human has ever given. She begged for another chance. I was frankly too stunned to say anything, so I left and promised to call soon. I don't think I can give her another chance. I don't think I can ever risk anything like this again. God, I'm still hoping that she's just being a cheating psycho and spinning a sympathy story to try to throw me off because this got way too complicated. There's an update. We got one more update here. It's a believable story. It could be possible, right? This could be possible. Her mother could just be so embroiled in her own vigilante justice that she used her daughter, and once she got what she wanted was done because she didn't want to be responsible for helping, raise the child. The whole it takes a village thing. She was only involved for revenge. She wasn't involved for being a part of this journey. Even if 100% of what she said was true, it's still an unforgivable to ice him out of the childbirth. It is. I don't think I would be able to forgive that. Here we go. Final update. Well. This was all a fantastic waste of time. This is full of stupid information that doesn't matter, so here's what happened, condensed. It took me way longer than it should have to realize I should actually call someone who saw her behavior when she left firsthand. I called one of her brothers. I basically word vomited and relayed the whole story and asked what they can verify. They could not. What actually happened, she started having an affair with a coworker roughly 4 months before she got pregnant. He gave her the AP spiel about how he was better and she should go with him when she got pregnant. She immediately gets it in her head to abuse me, usual affair crap, eventually wanting to run off with him. The day she left, she did stay at her mother's, but had all the intention to move in with him after giving birth. Before she delivers, she owns up and tells her family everything. My mother-in-law and brother-in-laws couldn't care at the time. They may not be crazy, but they still didn't like me, and from what she was selling to them about her AP, they liked him. AP was at the birth, hi, and tried to start a fight with them. But then wife already did a paternity test, and it was his. AP then disappears, and she realizes she's We have a solid prenuptial on my house is premarital, plus we live in an at-fault state. Around that time is when I called her out and split finances. She was deep in a hole with no way out. And in her mind, pitching a drama show about her family to me made sense to get me on her side. What was the plan for my paternity test? I don't know. What was she planning for whenever I interacted with family again? I don't know. Why did her family go along with it? I don't know. How is she ever going to make up for the abuse? I don't know. Is there any truth to her tale about her mother? I have no idea. I don't care at this point. This whole problem was a desperate person and her toxic family gambling everything on a no-show, and only when they had burned all bridges with me did they try to reconnect. I'm glad I called the brother who had any decency to own up to their nonsense. He realized how in deep he was and that his sister didn't help with that, and he's finally done with his family's crap and wants to get away. He gave me a copy of the paternity test that she gave him. He sent dozens of messages she had with him and the family in the group chat. I have enough proof for my lawyer to bury her. I texted her and told her I knew everything. She's been messaging me relentlessly with the most vile things she could say. I'm just forwarding it all to my lawyer. I'm still in awe to how she tried to pull a last resort manipulation tactic with the story about her family. It's actually kind of disturbing, but that doesn't really concern me now. Locks are changed, finances are already separated. I'm not on the birth certificate and my divorce is getting ready to start. Probably will have no updates for a long time. Divorces take way longer than Reddit makes it seem like. In any way, this was the best case scenario and I'm actually giddy that I have a clean break. Huge sigh of relief. She could have at least told me the truth and spared the pointless drama update. LOL. Oh no. I mean, yay for him. Like, yay for him. You know, 100% where my head is at right now, guys. I don't have to say it, but I'm gonna say it. This poor kid, this poor baby who was just born into like the most up circumstances, and now is gonna be raised by this, gonna be raised alone by this completely untrustworthy, unstable person, and the cycle will continue. Yeah, OP's NTA. We were way off on that. OP's NTA. But hearing about kids who are born into situations like this kind of makes you understand how the shitty humans got shitty. Like when you interact with these people and you're like, how did you become this monster? Yeah. Wife here, like, Jesus, to play this manipulation game like she did. And AP, the affair partner, doing what APs do, and once shit got real, bailed. Classic. The wife said, come what may. And what came was a hurricane. She gets that. She gets this. She gets this. She gets this. She gets all of it. She gets all of it. You know, even OP. I think OP, having been through this before even entertaining another relationship down the road, OP, I think talking this through and finding a new center or recentering is going to be a damn good thing. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with another Reddit story for you. This one is titled AITA for not participating in my fiance's weird Christmas underwear tradition. Makes me think that the family's involved. It's like a family underwear tradition? Could be cool. Let's see. This year, I celebrated Christmas with my fiance's family for the first time. Before we went to my fiance's parents' house, my fiance warned me that his parents usually come short in the amount of food they cook for Christmas dinner and that there's often not enough for everyone. What I didn't expect, though, was to be expected to participate in the family's weird tradition. Apparently, they have a long-standing tradition where instead of drawing straws, they'll all throw their underwear in a bin and then go take turns wearing a blindfold and drawing a pair of underwear from the pile, and drawing the smallest pair of underwear correlates to drawing the smallest straw. It's kind of the thing that you need to prepare for ahead of time, right? I had never heard of this tradition, so I felt blindsided when right before Christmas dinner, my fiance's mom yelled out that it was time to pull the straws to decide the order of who got to plate up their food first in case there wasn't enough for everyone. Hold up. Okay, so I was thinking for a second this was like a draw straws for like choosing names or, you know, for I don't know. Like, I did not expect it to be related to drawing straws, aka underwear, to be able to decide who gets to go get food first. Interesting. Would definitely want to know ahead of time, right? Everybody would want to know ahead of time. You want to make sure, hey, I'd stuff an extra clean pair in my pocket. That's the logical thing to do, right? You don't want to go in the bathroom and have to like shimmy your stuff off and then be freeballing. Everybody freeballing. They sound like a very close family. At first, I thought the family was joking when they announced this, so I laughed, which made my fiance get real defensive. I volunteered to get my food last so I wouldn't have to participate, but my fiance just got more annoyed and asked me to just try to be a bit more agreeable. The whole thing was just kind of weirding me out, so I called an Uber and went home. Now things are real tense between me and my fiance since he now says I made a bad impression by acting like I was too good for their family tradition. I am too good for your family tradition. Not good. Let's not use the word too good. I'm too normal for your family tradition. I'm too normal for your weird ass freeballing family tradition. Like, do they play Tom Petty this whole time that everybody's like disrobing and throwing their dirty drawers into a laundry basket for people to choose from? Also, you have to acknowledge that if everybody's throwing their dirty skibbies into a basket, you know, there's probably some mixing going on there. And then your dirties are rubbing up against someone else's dirties. And then what, you put them back on, or do you freeball the whole night? I mean, at that point, you kind of have to freeball the whole night because you're not going to put your dirty skibbies that rubbed against somebody else's dirty skibbies back on your body. It's going to be a whole freeball all night kind of thing. And depending what you wore, that could be super uncomfortable. I'd be like, I'm really regretting wearing jeans. Went to Christmas dinner and all I got was chafing. Top comment here, WTF, NTA, this doesn't seem like it could possibly be real, but I also don't know how you'd come up with this, so I'm inclined to believe you. NTA, I would have noped right out of there too. And if I were you, I would tell your fiance that I am too good for their family tradition because it's honestly weird and trashy. Okay, so I agree here on NTA. Definitely agree on NTA. I think the real communication error here was with your fiance, which, by the way, this kind of feels like the kind of stuff you should learn about a person and their family before saying yes to spending the rest of your life with them. I understand you can't learn everything, but your fiance here, OP, should have alerted you a long time ago about any kind of weird isms that his family has. Definitely should have alerted you long before this event that this was going to be a thing to give you time to prepare. I think it was awfully disrespectful of him to you to not warn you ahead of time so that you could prepare. Or maybe that's part of the fun. I can't think of any reason that you wouldn't warn her, though, right? It's just more fun if maybe it's a hazing ritual. Maybe that's it. Maybe this isn't actually a real, like, family thing. Maybe this is a hazing ritual for newbies, and maybe they do it just to see how committed they are to being a part of the family. Maybe that's the kind of thing. But he's sticking to his guns here. Fiance, he's upset now and said she made a bad impression. Sorry, I didn't let my dirty skibbies roll around with everyone else's and let someone touch them. Sorry. Also, after they participate in this game, I hope that everybody like scrubs and sanitizes like crazy, because the game is we play with other people's dirty underwear and then we eat food with our hands. The game is, for Christmas, we all get pink eye. Yay! This could be catastrophic for someone. Too many complications for this kind of thing that require planning ahead well in advance. I'd go to the store and buy a basic pair of skibbies to take just to this thing, put them in my pocket and pull them out when it's time, and it's a brain, then yes. And then I don't want them back. And I don't want to touch anybody else's either. Latex gloves and a new pair of skibbies. You would have had to know ahead enough time to be able to bring those supplies with you. And even then, you're going to be like, what is wrong with your family? And what other things are going on that I need to know about that is at this level of weird? Now, the fiance was raised in this environment, so it's normal to him, which is a red flag. But you have the right to know at this point and be like, okay, I need to know. Put it all out on the table. Let's put all the dirty underwear out on the table. Let's go through all your dirty laundry here and talk about all the stuff, so I can really decide if I'm that committed to this thing or not. NTA, that's the bottom line, but holy cow. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with another Reddit story for you. This one actually comes from True Off My Chest, and it is one of these. Spicy story. Title of this one is, My Ex Got Revenge on Me in the Worst Way Possible, and I have no way to clear my name. Last year, I cheated on my ex-girlfriend of 8 years, Annie, with a colleague, Jess, who I now have a 3-week-old son with. I have no excuse. It cost me my job and the majority of my friendships, along with the love of a good woman. I deserved it all, and I have never expected any sympathy for my actions. Annie delivered my stuff to my parents' house before I even knew she knew about the cheating. She didn't even confront me. She just cut me out of her life without a word. I messaged everyone we knew, begging them to ask for her to talk to me. And I sent hundreds of messages telling her how much I regretted everything and I wanted her back. I never got a response. Jess saw the messages, and it obviously caused issues between us in the beginning, but she fell pregnant quickly, so we moved past it for the sake of our family together. I like it when people say, fell pregnant. It's like, you talk about it like it's an illness. It's like you fell ill, or like she fell with COVID. Now, it's a baby. It's not a sickness. So we moved past it for the sake of our family together, which we both wanted. I am 100% committed to the relationship and haven't even looked at another woman since things settled down. In the final stretch of Jess's pregnancy about a month ago, I saw Annie in a shop for the first time since the breakup. She was pretty cold towards me, but said that a few months ago she found a keychain my granddad got me when I was very young. It's not valuable, but she knows it means a lot to me, and she said I could come collect it the following Saturday morning. I explained that was 6 days after Jess was due to give birth, so I'd probably need to be home, but she just said I could either get it on Saturday or it was going in the bin, so I agreed a time to go over. You're smarter than that, OP. Come on now. My son was born a few days late, but he's perfectly healthy and wonderful, so he was less than 24 hours old on the Saturday I needed to collect the keychain. I planned to pop in on the way to the hospital, but when I got to my old house, Annie invited me in to talk about how things ended between us. I thought we had a good conversation and that both of us walked away with closure. She let me apologize for the way that I treated her, wished me the best with my new family, and hugged me as I left. I admit I held on tightly for the hug, but it was purely because of a relief, not lingering feelings. I spent less than an hour at her house, then headed to the hospital. I didn't tell Jess about any of this because I know she still feels insecure about Annie, and I didn't want to add fuel to that. You didn't tell her because you knew she would be unhappy? So why did you do this? When I arrived at the hospital after seeing Annie, Jess had revoked my access, and the ward manager wouldn't tell me why. I ended up being removed by a security guard because I was denied seeing my son for the second time ever, and I didn't respond well to being blindsided. I tried calling Jess and her mom over and over, and the only response I got was a screen recording of a message from Annie. It was a doorbell footage of me walking through the door at 9:30 and then back out just after 10:15. And the hug is only partly caught, so it does look like we could have been kissing. The message Annie sent with it said, "Did he even shower and change his clothes between me and holding his son? Congratulations on being stuck with him for the next 18 years. I hope it's everything you dreamed of." Whoa. Bishby diabolical. Wow. Wow. Okay. No one believes this is a setup at all. It's something I would never have expected from Annie, and no one else would either. So they're completely rejecting the idea that this is a lie. I sent her a message asking why she did this, assuming I'd still be blocked. Her response was that she wasn't going to let me play innocent, and that I may have deleted all of our messages over the past few months, but she hasn't. Whoa. If OP is being honest here, this is wild. Obviously, there are no messages, but she blocked me again straight after, so I have nothing at all to exonerate myself with. She waited in silence for almost a year, then took the most cruel and vindictive revenge she possibly could. I have met my son once, minutes after he was born, and now Jess is refusing any contact with me and won't let me see him. Court will take months, and my heart hurts every minute of every day. I know what I did to Annie was horrible, but I don't deserve this. I have no one to talk to about it because not even my own mother believes me. Her only question was why I ruined my life with a babe when Annie was willing to reconcile, and that's about the most supportive thing she said to me since I was dumped. The few friends who stuck with me are assuming the worst too, and it's killing me that not a single person I know sees this for what it is. Everything is ruined. You know what? To get some help with feedback on this, we're going to bring him up. James, a.k.a. the artist formerly known as Beer Today, now Unbeer Today. Welcome to the 2-year channelversary, brother. It's good to see you. Welcome back. Welcome back. Step right on up. Step right on up there.
This is a lot.
This is a lot.
This is a lot. This is a roller coaster of shenanigans. You were at unpack this.
Shenana coaster.
It's a shenana coaster.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm at a loss for the words up in here. However, we'll just chunk it out. One, sometimes there are consequences for your actions. So you do stupid things, you win stupid prizes.
Right.
There is also a real concerning bit of, I get the revenge is best served cold. I mean, we're gonna be diabolical, but we've also affected a relationship with a child. The child didn't do anything to deserve this. Yes. Even the ex, all the people didn't deserve this. It's a bit. She went too far. This is too far. This is too much. Yeah, and I mean, we can believe. We gotta take it at face value. So we believe just this, but don't mess with children. And that's what we're doing. We're ruining relationships with children. And for her to assume that he's going to be a terrible human being for the next 18 years, that's you don't get to decide that. You were hurt. Move on. He's a terrible person for you. Move on. Get him back some way. Don't mess with the children.
Yeah. Also, I think that in this scenario, OP, you feel like you have nothing to exonerate yourself with. You have no evidence, but like this is a guilty until proven innocent kind of thing because she's already thrown evidence to the contrary, right? However, your phone records are a pretty easy thing for you to access, and you can prove that you have not been calling and messaging her for the past several months. You can prove that. And also, you still have the messages where you did have contact with her over the past week or 2 weeks or whatever it has been. So you can prove when you did communicate and when you did not communicate with her. You could start building a case here. Your location, if you've tracked, I'd be pulling every piece of data that I have and start using it to at least document the truth right now.
But maybe we should have documented it from the beginning.
Truth.
I mean, I saw my ex. Yeah. I went to my ex's house. Like, this is an open dialogue, and you have to be honest with your partner.
I think we can at least, at minimum, do this for him.
For sure.
Going there was a brozo. He said himself, this keychain was not like an expensive heirloom kind of thing. It had sentimental value for him.
It's almost a year later, and he forgot. He didn't remember it. So how important was it? He's not painting himself good picture.
No.
Didn't do anything to mind his P's and Q's. You're setting yourself up for failure. I mean, you CYA, it's the comfort of your partner that needs to come first.
Yep.
And you have to do that, especially when the relationship didn't start on the best of terms. So he's already painted with a picture, and then he didn't do anything to fix that.
I don't know. It's just the whole, I understand that he f***ed up. He knows he f***ed up. And once his new partner fell pregnant, he says he was devoted there. And we have to take him at his word because that's the only word that we have right now. However, his ex going for the jugular and affecting his ability to have a relationship with his child is way too far. You've got to have some evil in your bones to be able to pull that off and feel completely justified. And she knowingly lied. The message that she sent about effing her was clearly a lie, and she knew it. If everything we're hearing here is truth.
But even if we assume that everything is truth, you got to be open and honest with your partner enough to know everything that's going on. Exactly. Otherwise, he's going to be assumed that she was not lying.
Right.
Because he didn't say, hey, I'm going to do this. This is where I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to do. Yeah. Here's we've been talking. That sort of thing is what you have to do if you're going to alleviate any doubt.
He's not completely innocent, and that's the problem. Because he still went over. He still went over and didn't tell her on purpose. So.
Even if there was nothing that happened, it was still an omission of information. And that's easy to do, but it's also really dangerous. Thou shalt not do that.
Where would you put him? How big? Okay, OP specifically. I feel like X is an ASCOM 1 here. If you're willing to take that kind of action against a child, you're an ASCOM 1. I think we probably, a lot of us agree on that. Where would you put OP for what he did, not telling her, and getting himself into the position that he's in now?
Well, you got the initial ASCON 1, which he led with that. I did a bad thing.
Right.
I'm still going to go 1.5 to get to the I'm not being honest with my partner and it's come back to bit me in the ass.
Okay.
It's another consequence of his actions.
Gotcha.
A little overdone, but still a consequence of his actions.
Gotcha. So he's 1.5.
Go to 2.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2 on here. 4, well, not being honest with his partner is an ASCOM 1 thing. That was just... If he was going to do something that he felt like he couldn't be honest with her about, he shouldn't be doing it. And that's it. That's the bottom line. Now, what happened to him is exponentially worse, right? And I'm sure he is shitting himself. And if this had happened, I wouldn't have allowed this to happen to me in the first place. If something like this happened to me and I wasn't allowed to have a relationship with my kids because somebody was blackmailing me for a hurt that I had caused them years and years ago, this has got to be the most lonely, sickening feeling he's ever felt.
He's definitely thinking about his life choices at this point.
Yeah.
Or at least he should be.
Because
he's got some work to do to get back there. And, I mean, eventually he'll be able to, if he is a good person, will have a good relationship with his child. It's not like he disappeared off the face of the earth, but he's got work to do.
A lot of work to do.
Got a lot of work to do.
Title of this story is, Am I the Astronaut for Kicking My Wife Out After She Punched My Mom in the Face? What? My situation went from bad to worse in a matter of a week, and I don't know where else to turn. I need to know if I was wrong. Possibly a validation thing because life is effing dumb right now. My wife and I have been together for 8 years, and she just gave birth to our first and last baby 2 months ago. I'm not sure WTF is wrong with my mom or why the switch happened, but after my wife got pregnant, my mom started being very clingy to me and started avoiding my wife at all costs. Told everyone she wasn't excited about the pregnancy, etc. I threatened to go no contact with her when my wife was about 7 months along, and after that she snapped out of it for the most part and stopped being so ignorant. The comments 100% stopped, at least, though she still was clinging to me. Now, a week ago, my mom, my sister's husband, and my sister's daughter, 12, came over for dinner. I prepared the meal. Before my wife could eat anything, our daughter got fussy, so my wife excused herself to go feed the baby and get her down to sleep. I thought I prepared enough, but apparently not because my niece was still starving. She's 5'5" and 190 pounds. I haven't seen her in a year, and she was not that size then, so I didn't exactly portion in an extra 3 helpings for a child, so it's on me. I apologized and told her that I hadn't made any more and offered her crackers as I was putting my wife's portion in the fridge. After that, I just went outside with my sister's husband to smoke a cigarette and shoot the breeze. Didn't think anything of it. But then I hear yelling from inside. When I walked in, my wife and my mom were screaming at each other. Apparently, my mom, who saw me put my wife's food away, gave my niece my wife's portion of food. As I was walking inside, I heard my mom say, "Looks like you can afford to skip a meal," and slapped my wife's stomach. Right as soon as I get ready to step in, literally fast walking toward them, yelling, "Enough!" My wife whines back and punches my mother square in the face and drops her. The whole house went silent outside of my mom crying and holding her face. I told everyone to get the out, Immediately, everyone leaves and my wife just turns toward the counter and leans with her hands on the counter and face down, eyes closed. I look at my wife and say, "You two leave now." She says, "Really?" She's crying at this point. I say a clipped, "Yep." She packs up her and the baby and they leave. I texted her that night and said, "I just need space. I need to decompress and come to terms with what just happened." She doesn't respond. The next 5 days, I'm texting and calling and I get nothing. She shows up here today, so 8 days later, and hands me divorce paperwork and my baby and says, "Here, you have a bit to hang out with her while I go pack. When I'm done breastfeeding, we can work out a visitation schedule that is either at your place or my mother's until she will take a..." I told her that's not what I want. I don't want to separate. I just needed time to process her punching my mother in the face. She said, "You needing time to process gave me time to process the fact that I refused to be in this situation any longer." I defended myself. I initially felt bad and remorseful, but you making me leave when I needed you made me see more clearly. I'm done. I'm sorry for what I did, but there's no fixing this. She refused to speak to me at all the rest of the time that she was here. My house feels so empty and I don't know what to do. Am I the astronaut for making her leave after she punched my mom? I just needed some effing space. Edited to add, for the record, I am team wife. My mom deserved it wholeheartedly, and I've blocked her completely from my life. I literally just needed time to process what happened. My wife is a lot of things. Violent is not one of them. So this came completely out of left field and would not have happened without her being provoked. After it all happened, my mom sent me a text saying, "See, I told you she was crazy. That fat bitch doesn't belong in our life." I'm willing to bet she purposely tried setting my wife off. So no, I'm not on my wife's side 100%. I truly just needed to process what happened, and my wife took it as me giving up on her, not defending her and throwing her and our baby out, which did essentially happen because I knew she had to take the baby with her when I kicked her out. Edited to add to the reason why. My dad was physical with me and my siblings growing up. Mom was put in the hospital multiple times. It took years for police to enforce restraining orders, and he finally died in 2013. Violence scares the effing shit out of me. I clam up and get anxious around violence of any kind now. My wife knows this, and she too grew up with a violent stepdad, and she gets just as anxious and panicky around violence. Her punching my mom in the face triggered an anxious response, and I needed her gone at that moment. I needed it far away from me. I don't know why I didn't just leave. I could have, but in that moment, I just let my emotions and fear run the whole circus and told everyone to get out, her included. My mom slapped her first. I guess for some reason I was seeing my wife's punch as being worse than the slap. It wasn't a hard slap, but my wife did kind of wince. Looking back at it now, she was fine, but my mom was bleeding, split her eyebrow open, in good shape. I don't know. Thanks for the responses. I'm the asshole. I'm going to try to go kiss ass now. Ladies and gentlemen, to help give us some feedback on the story, the one, the only, the Candy Thunder.
Peppered beef jerky.
The real tater in love here. You have peppered beef jerky in your mouth?
No, I did before I got here. His whole "I need to kiss ass and do all this stuff" is completely negated by the fact that he said he's possibly on Reddit for validation for doing what he did. He came to get validated for kicking his wife and his 2-month-old baby out of his house. How do you, and then to say like, "Oh yeah, I did, I realized I messed up, blah, blah, blah." But you came originally for possibly validating what you did to your wife. And I assume that's your wife's house too, and your baby's house too. And you knew if you kicked your wife out, you were kicking your baby out. You abandoned them.
He did.
When she's in the middle of postpartum. The worst part of postpartum, in my 2 times opinion, is that 2-month mark, because people come around less. You're more like the baby starting to be awake more, like sleep gets all messed up again. That's 2-month mark is a hard freaking part. And your mom set you up and you just took the bait. Like she set this whole thing up. She knew exactly what she was doing and you just walked right into it and gave her what she wanted. And then you didn't choose your wife. Like I can't even, I mean, I would hand him divorce papers too. There's no question about it.
He didn't choose his mother. He chose himself. Like, it wasn't a choice. He sent everybody away. But yes, mom absolutely played this.
Yes.
Knowing what trauma he has, knowing that she was going to take advantage of it, knowing exactly what she was doing. And in that moment when your wife needed you to step up and choose her more than any other time before, you chose yourself.
He could have walked away though. Like you don't kick your wife and your baby out of your home when you can very easily walk outside, take a drive, go get your space that you need. You do not abandon your wife and baby.
He wasn't even directly affected in this. He was a bystander, right? Like, she was the one that got into this altercation and got baited into this by mom.
She was told that she was fat, that she didn't need to eat, and then she was slapped. So yeah, of course she's going to respond in that situation. And instead of like seeing that could have happened, you didn't take even a breath. You just kicked her out and was like, I can't look at you. I can't see this. I mean, you did the one thing that you promised not to do when you married your wife. And that I don't think you can get that back. I don't think you can kiss ass and make up for what you've done.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. And Tony said the mom's response saying that, I mean, she just basically told you she baited you and you fell for it. You can't slap people and tell them they're disgusting and not expect them to respond. That's just crazy.
And they both came from upbringings where they had violent people around. So it's not just a him thing. I mean, it's something that they have in common. Mm-hmm. And you know, whether you have PTSD from it or not, you don't repel your family. Like, if anything, at this point, he needed to step up and protect them, and did the opposite, sent everyone away to protect himself, not physically, mentally, emotionally. But his wife had just been through something, a physical altercation, and he sent her away. And like the most heated time, like that's not the time. It's time to circle the wagons. It's time to make sure that she knows that she's safe. This is her space too. And instead, just sent her away. You,
in that moment, could have went up to your wife, hugged her, consoled her, told her how much you loved her, and turned around. Like, the situations where you were in were abused and you knew violence. Like, you could have saved your wife in that moment because you saw her get slapped. But instead, you just treated her like dirt. Like, you treated her like she was nothing. Like, only your mental health mattered, not the woman who just gave birth. I mean, what if she had a C-section? Like, we don't know that, but you don't slap a woman who just gave birth in the stomach. Come on.
So where would you put OP at here, Candy Thunder? I'll let you do the honors. There it goes. We did talk about this too.
No question.
When we have Ask On Ones, I think we're gonna start doing something like this. Yeah. We're gonna get this etched, like an Ask On One etched on here, and this will be the Ask On One award. There we go. We'll call it the ASSIE Award, something like that.
The ASSIE.
It's definitely not cool.
No.
This one is the wife's response to the AITA for kicking my wife out after she punched my mom in the face. I'm so excited for this. I'm still grieving at the loss of my marriage, but my friend had notified me about my husband's post that had too many specific details that were hard to ignore. To clarify, this is my first time on Reddit. I read my soon-to-be ex-husband's post and wanted to give my side of the story and include details that he didn't provide in his post. For those who hadn't read it, long story short, my husband kicked me out of the house after his mother had physically slapped my stomach in front of him, and I punched her in self-defense. I loved my husband dearly, but this lack of action regarding his mother's behavior was extremely disgusting, to say the least. I tolerated his mom's behavior long enough until I couldn't take it anymore, as he had overlooked his mom's behavior over and over again until finally I had enough. I was still recovering after giving birth to his child when his mom slapped my stomach, and my husband exaggerated when he said it wasn't a hard slap. Sorry, I got lost. The slap itself was hard enough to be heard by everyone in the room. I had lost it at this point when his mother slapped my stomach with a turd-eating smirk that wasn't visible from my husband's point of view. At least that's what my husband claimed. I had a mental breakdown when my husband told me to leave after kicking everyone out of the house. You should have seen his face when he told me to get out, with a straight face and without hesitation. Our baby was crying at this point before I left, and I couldn't do anything but cry that night after I went to stay with my mother. His mother sent me a text mockingly saying, "I'm going to file charges against you for assault, you fat little whore. Now stay the out of our lives." You don't think this was intentional? Bro, come on, man. Come on. Dumbass. I was livid and decided I did not want to be associated with this family anymore and served my husband divorce papers. And as you can guess, he didn't take it well and tried to get me to reconsider. I told him that he overlooked his mother's behavior one too many times and that I was done with him and his inability to establish boundaries with his mother. I recommended setting boundaries, but he didn't think it was necessary, even after I told him throughout the pregnancy about the nasty names his mother called me when he wasn't around, and he always brushed it off. And even though he did tell his mom to stop, she would continue this behavior after a short pause for a while. Before I left after handing him divorce papers, he begged me for another chance and told me he cut contact with his mother permanently. Bullshit. I told him that he is sorry now that I handed him divorce papers and that he was too late to act now that I had decided I wanted out of the marriage. I told him I loved him so much that he should look at it as a sign that if I didn't, then I would have divorced him long ago, because he didn't stand up for me multiple times, and I let his mother's snarky comments and behavior slide at my mental expense. I told him he needed help with the trauma because I understand that he is dealing with trauma since he already mentioned his abusive stepdad, but he didn't even realize that his mother hadn't gotten him help for his trauma and that he is still being affected in his adulthood. What I can't understand is why she didn't leave if he needed some space instead of being such a heartless bastard and kicking our child out with me. I've been ignoring his texts and calls ever since, and I'm waiting for a divorce hearing. Something I wanted to point out is that his mother has attributed to his niece's weight gain since she lives with my husband's sister to save money. I once again told my husband about his niece's weight gain. It's concerning that she weighs 190 pounds at such a young age, and she was indeed not that weight before. On the day of the incident, I was making the niece's second portion of food, and then my husband's mother came towards me and snatched the plate out of my hands and said, "I'll do it myself. Let me take care of it." And when I tried to take the plate back, his mother said, "I know what to do. You don't know how to properly feed someone as healthy as my grandchild." I was shocked that she thinks that her grandchild's weight was normal for her age. I couldn't take this harassment or abuse any longer, and my breaking point was reached when he kicked me and our child out of the house. Now I need to do what's right for our child because she doesn't need to be in a toxic household where she has to witness the drama going on. My soon-to-be ex-husband wants to do marriage counseling, to which I have refused to do so because I am done. I started to feel slightly guilty with his begging and gaslighting. I just want to be done with him. I've blocked him as recommended by my lawyer, but he keeps reaching out through his family, through his other family members and siblings. What should I do to make him go away until the divorce hearing? I don't know that you can make him go away. You just ignore things. When you're doing the right thing, this is one of those situations that's a, if not for you, for your kid, mama bear up kind of thing. And a lot of people go through that where they'll put up with a whole bunch of bullshit, but as soon as their kid is involved, they are like, I'm out. I am out. This guy's so far up his mama's ass that he literally cannot see the world around him without looking through her eyes. He's that far up her ass. He's completely manipulated here. For him to completely change his tune once divorce papers are served and say, "Oh, I'll go no contact with her," the you will. You allowed your mother to destroy your marriage, to destroy your life. You allowed your mother to manipulate you into kicking your wife who had just given birth and your baby out of the house. What makes you think you have the power or ability to cut her off? You've already allowed her to destroy your life. It's a little bit too late here, bro. He needs to. I mean, he needs to start this very long, very painful journey of self-discovery here and breaking the bond that his mom, or the control tether that his mother has over him. Otherwise, he's not going to be a part of his kid's life. And he doesn't realize that yet. Maybe he does. Maybe that's what got him panicking once she handed him divorce papers, because now he's like, oh shit. Now it's on me to be a part of my daughter's life as an independent. There's got to be some kind. I don't know if you can impose some kind of structure about not letting him take your child around toxic grandma without her doing something that warrants some kind of legal off limits structure there. So you still have that to worry about. I mean, I would definitely use the slap as assault on her. So maybe you do need to file against her so that you can use that later on to make sure that your kid isn't around this crazy bee. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with another Reddit story for you. This one is actually covered during a podcast recording I did with Caden Thunder, and it's about crop dusting. You're going to enjoy it. Our first story actually comes from Petty Revenge and is titled, "I and a friend crop dusted a table because they made our server cry.
Would I do it? Would you do it? I think you'd do it.
I'd do it. 100%.
I think you'd crop dusting a table because they made our server cry.
That's right. So they probably had the same server, I'm assuming.
That makes sense. That sounds like something that you would do, actually.
Yeah. I don't even know that I would crop dust it because I don't even know that I would attempt to make it silent.
You just straight hard boil it. Drop the eggs into the furnace and let those baby chickens hatch.
They'd be running for cover. They'd be like ducking.
The baby chickens?
No, the people at the table.
Oh, yeah.
Also, I think it's kind of funny how, and I don't know if this is an American thing or if this is like it all across the world, but if you were very literal and read this, you would think, what did the table do wrong? Because when you say a table, you mean like the people at the table, obviously. You can crop dust a table, like the table can't smell you. It doesn't care.
Yes.
But the people at the table, I'm sure, very much care.
Table meaning the people seated at the table.
Correct. Yes.
I wonder what they did to make the server cry.
We'll find out. Here we go. So would you give them an ASCON scale rating?
I'm going to go ASCON 2 just because.
They definitely shouldn't have done it.
No, wait, what's ASCON? Oh, okay, wait.
I had a friend crop dusted a table because they made our server cry. It's NTA for me.
NTA for that. I meant the table. It's probably ASCON 1 or 2.
The people who did the deed that caused them to get crop dusted?
Yeah, the burning baby chickens.
It was my friend's birthday and a group of us had planned to take him out to his favorite restaurant. When we get there, party of 8, we were sat next to a smaller table full of dudes who fit the stereotype of dude bros. After roughly 5 minutes, we discovered that they were going to be a problem. They were pretty loud and rude, giving their server a hard time. Soon our server came, and it was the same girl who was serving the rude table. She apologized for the wait and made a comment about how she had a lot on her plate. Restaurant pun. We told her it's fine and we understand. She takes our drink orders and gives us some more time to pick our food. A few minutes go by and we hear yelling. From what we gathered, one of the dudes wanted a drink, alcoholic, but didn't bring his ID. The server was doing her best to remain calm and keep control over the situation. He kept gesturing to his phone and we heard the server. I'm sorry, but I can't accept a screenshot. Finally, one of his friends steps up and says he'll buy the drink for him. The server does her best to explain that he can't. It's illegal and she would get in big trouble for it. Dude 2 then gets upset and now the whole table is in an uproar. Finally, the server says that she'll get her manager and quickly leaves in tears. The birthday boy is pissed and says he's going to say something. Lucky his girlfriend steps in. That's when another friend smirks and says, I have a better idea. We'll call him Jack. Jack goes, I have to fart. Being on the same wavelength, I smile and go, so do I. Jack, are we going to crop dust this table? Me. I think we are. The rude table is located in a way that you'd have to walk by them to get to the bathroom, and you can walk either left or right of the table. Jack stands up first and makes his way to the bathroom. When he disappears around the corner, that's when the effects hit. At first, the dudes think it's hilarious, pointing out one particular guy and placing the blame on him. He doesn't think it's so funny and is steadily getting mad. That's when I step up. I make my way to the bathroom, passing on the opposite side of the table that Jack did. When I clear the corner, Jack is standing there with a shit-eating grin. We stand there and listen to the true chaos begin. The rude table doesn't find the second crop dusting as funny as the first one. Now they're yelling and pointing fingers at each other. The icing on the cake is that when the manager finally comes over and tells them that they're being too loud and they're going to have to leave if they don't calm down, they're pissed and then start complaining about their server. Jack and I couldn't see the manager's face, but he was quiet for a good minute before he started talking again. He has to explain the law to them when it comes to alcohol, adding on that the table can't be served alcohol at all due to Dude 2's comments about buying it for someone else, since they can't confirm that the person who is going to drink it is 21. They're super pissed at all this, but stay. They get a new server who is a very buff man with a face that says, "F around and find out." They spend the rest of their time with basically their heads down in shame. Bravo for this.
Yeah.
Hell, you know what I love most about how OP and his buddy here at their table approached this?
What's that?
I assumed at first if they were both down for crop dusting this table and if you could walk on either side of the table, my assumption would be
double whammy them.
You wingman this, right? So you both go at the same time and you crop dust along both the edges so it kind of fades in and then it's just one massive bad thing. The fact that they staggered this by timing and by sides are really smart.
So of all the crop dusting methods, I think that is probably one of the if not the best crop dusting method that I've
damn good.
There's this is an art. There's many people that put lots of time and effort into the crop dusting field. It's ever growing. I've heard lots of good things about it. This is one of the best crop dusting methods that I've seen. I do actually have some interesting insight on the alcohol and license category as well, because I used to work in a retail store at Sam's Club. And we had a policy. I do not work for that place anymore. Good riddance. We can get into that later. I've already gotten into it before. There'd be people who would come in and try and buy alcohol, like large groups of like younger dudes, probably like brat dudes, college age, people who are trying to get drinks. One of them would have their ID. The rest of them would be like, oh, we didn't bring it. We left it in the car or something like that. Well, it's the policy of these retail stores that if one person comes in with their license and the others don't have a valid license, you cannot sell them alcohol, even if they split up and try and buy it, because they'd split up and they'd be like, okay, I'm just going to go to self-checkout and do it. Like we can't allow that either. And if they leave and come back, if we've seen them that day trying to buy alcohol with other people that didn't have a valid license, we're not allowed to sell any alcohol to them. So people, would get mad, crawl on all fours, do backflips, the girl from The Ring, like that type of stuff. And
that's some wild level of response.
I've had some crazy stuff happen because people couldn't buy their magic juice, but I never crop dusted them. But this has got me thinking maybe I should have,
Totally.
Hit them with the Disney Planes 3000.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had seen Planes.
Planes, I have seen Planes.
You remember the main character's name?
Dusty?
Dusty Crop Hopper. Dusty Crop Hopper.
You're a plane.
Only when I crop dust. Dusty Crop Hopper.
Yeah, we got to do something with that.
We do.
We got to build you a plane and put your face on it.
I'm down
on the front, not like on the side like a normal plane, but like we'll put your eyes on the headlights.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm down. Planes don't really have headlights, but
we'll make it have headlights. Nobody's built a plane like we have before.
I'm 100% down for this.
And we'll crop dust. It'll be a crop duster.
I wonder if OP ever let the server know. The server who these guys were
let them know.
Huge douche canoes too. I wonder if they ever told her.
It would be nice to know that someone stood up for you by shitting themselves gaseously onto the table. I would like to hear that if I was a server. I'd like it if someone walked up to me and they were like, yeah, I did it for you.
That's right.
I would appreciate that.
I'd shit myself for you.
Vengeance is a shit cloud.
Vengeance is a shit cloud. I've convinced the Navy that farts are just bad butt breath.
Bad butt breath. I like that.
That's bad butt breath.
Yep.
All right. Just keep your butt closed.
Bookmark that. There's nobody back there.
Bookmark that. Clip it.
Clip that.
It. I like it. Well done. Well done, OP. I think it's a good start. And if this sets the tone for what else is to come here, I think we're in really good shape.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hey there, it's Dusty once again with another Reddit story for you. This one is, am I the astronaut for losing it on my wife after she told my son to get out of the picture at my stepdaughter's birthday? Shit. Candy Thunder has a note on this one underneath the title. It says, Dusty, this is going to piss you off. Buckle up. Great. I'm really struggling here and starting to feel like I'm losing my mind. I think I'm being gaslit. So what better place to get some clarity than Reddit? Here's the situation. I've been married to my wife for 8 years, and on the whole, we have a good relationship. She has 4 kids, 2 daughters, 2 sons, ages 11 to 16 from a previous relationship, and I have 1 son who's 10. Since day one, I've treated her kids as my own and done the best to support the family. Financially, it's a big load, but I'm happy to do it. We live together in a 5-bedroom house where each of her daughters has their own room, her oldest son has his own, and her youngest son shares a room with my son. The main issue, and what's tearing me apart, is how she treats my son. She barely acknowledges him, rarely asks how he's doing, and generally acts like he's invisible. No, don't let it be this kind of person. Tonight, it hit a breaking point. We were celebrating her daughter's 11th birthday, and everyone was gathering to sing and take pictures. I told my son to get in with the group for a picture, which seemed fine. But then, right after the group photo, my wife looked at my son and told him, get out of the picture, move to the side. I want one with just my kids. Chew. My kids. I want one with just my kids. When you marry somebody with kids, they're all your kids. And when you have multiple bio kids that you bring into this and there's only one bonus kid, when you single that bonus kid out and exclude them from shit, it's amplified. I want one with just my kids. And you said this shit to him. I felt like my heart shattered at that moment. I completely lost it. I told her that we're supposed to be a blended family, that my son deserves to be treated like one of her own. I feel like she's drawing lines between her kids and my son, and it just doesn't sit right with me. For context, my son's biological mom passed away 2 years ago, supposedly from COVID complications. though she had a history of drug problems that might have worsened things. My son only has my wife now as a mother figure. I'm terrified that this rejection from her is going to hurt him deeply and cause psychological damage. Am I asking too much for her to treat him like part of the family? I don't want to be overreacting, but the way she flat out ignores him is painful to witness. Am I the astronaut for expecting her to step up and include him? No, you are not the astronaut for expecting her to do her job. There's more to the story. By the way, there's additional info from OP here, but we have to talk about this for a second, because when you got married, she married into your family. She took on your family as well. She took on your 10-year-old. Wait, was he 10? Is that right? Oh my gosh. They've been together since he's been 2, and he's 10 now. And his mom passed away 2 years ago. So when he was 8, and the only maternal figure in his life shuns him actively. And you know, she knows damn well what kind of damage she's doing. OP, you're sitting here wondering, you're worried about the damage that this could do. The damage is already happening. The damage has already been happening. The damage is happening right under your nose. I don't know how you can watch this happen and not have lost your shit before this moment, sir. I don't know how you can still be with somebody who treats your kid like this. And his mom passed 2 years ago, so he's with you full time, right? So full time, you are all he's got. He just happens to live in a house with all these other people. But you did him the disservice of bringing in the evil stepmother who actively shuns him, who actively ignores him, who actively will just walk right the by him and pretend like he doesn't exist. You're worried that might be damaging. Yeah, it's damaging. There better be some damn good redeeming qualities about this woman, because right now she just sounds evil. She is definitely going straight to ask on one. I don't care what information comes after this. The fact that she's capable of saying this to a child's face, who's supposed to be her responsibility, who she agreed to love and treat as one of her own when she married you and entered into a serious relationship with you. The fact that she's capable of spitting venom in a 10-year-old's face tells us everything we need to know about this woman. She's garbage. This is a garbage human being. How is this possible? I don't. OP, you're financially supporting the whole family. It's a big load, but you're happy to do it. So it's not like she can look at this and be like, he's taking resources away from my 4 kids. Or maybe that is a part of what she's thinking. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know what? That's not part of it, because standing in a picture doesn't eat up any resources. It just includes you in the family. But being willing to actively exclude him is being actively willing to do damage to a 10-year-old. She doesn't want this kid to think in any way, shape, or form that she's his mom. It's like she's working, she's doing extra work to make damn sure that he knows I'm not your mom. It is cruel, Jen. Yeah, this is just cruel. Oh, Nunya, damn. What is she doing when he's not around? OP, you need to have a conversation with your kid and be like, tell me everything. Tell me how shit this person really is. All right, additional info from OP. Before his mom died, I got him just every other weekend. The kids already had rooms. It was actually more like 3 years ago that she passed away. He's very close to his step-siblings. They live and accept him as their own, no problems there. At the time, it just made sense for him to be in the same room with the youngest boy. I am being told loud and clear she should be treating him as her own. So my assumption is I should do the same, and I have. I love all of my kids. Time out. OP says, I love all of my kids, including hers. She says, I want a picture with just my kids and excludes him. That's all you need to know. That's it. I've been with them since they were all very little. She absolutely isn't physically or verbally abusive. That you know of. As I said, she's just cold to him, but she's not very empathetic in general. I realize now I made a poor decision getting married. She was amazing to him prior to marriage. Now I've got myself in a pickle. But in spite of what people are saying, I'm not a bad person. I've just clearly had my head up my own ass on the fact that her being distant is harmful to him. I feel terrible, and now I'm going to do something about it. I don't think divorce is the answer to everything, but I will definitely file divorce if she doesn't agree to counseling and if I don't see a significant change in her behavior. We are talking about all this now, and she seems to understand and wants to change for the better. My hope is that we can work on this together and have an outcome that is good for everybody. Bullshit, sir. She's pacifying you. She's saying, yes. Oh, I can't believe I did that. I want to work on things and make it better. She knew exactly what she was doing. There's no way that this was an accident. This bitch is playing you.
This one makes my eyes sting, and it like incredibly just pisses me off. But when you read this updated part, like it triggered something in me. If you don't have empathy, he said she's not empathetic. If you don't have empathy, you cannot be a bonus mom. You can't, because you can't understand, like you can't see past your own bullshit to understand what another person is feeling. You have no business being a stepmom at all, like none whatsoever. And he said, he also, to me, is still defending her. She absolutely isn't physically or verbally abusive. Dude, she was verbally abusive to your son in front of your face, and you're still saying she's not verbally abusive. She is abusive. This is abuse. This is alienation from the family so that he will remove, and it will just be her kids and you. And it's disgusting that you haven't stood up for him until this moment. For 8 years, you didn't see this happen. And I understand maybe thinking that something's not right the first couple of times that you saw it, but 8 years you let your son deal with this. His mom has been gone for almost 3 years, and she's done this and guaranteed behind your back for 3 years, nonstop abuse to your son. Divorce is not the answer to everything, but it is the answer to this. Because there is no way that I watch someone treat my kid like that and then come back from that and just be like, yeah, that's okay. We can work through this. No, we cannot work through this. This is bullshit. You don't talk to other human beings like that. You don't even kick cousins out of pictures, but you want to let some woman that kicked your son out of a picture so that she could have him with her own, and you want to stay married to her and think that you can work this out. You need fucking therapy. Your son needs therapy, and you need to get out. Because right now, what is this woman providing to your life other than just a leech sucking money out of you so that you can provide the lifestyle that she wants? Nothing. I cannot ever imagine. There isn't a single picture since we've got together where you have excluded Ava and asked for a picture with just your kids. Ever.
She's mine too. Like,
Ever. From the moment you met her, you never treated her like that. The first time you met her, you did a photo shoot with her, literally on my porch because I wasn't done getting ready.
Yeah.
Literally. He did a photo shoot with my daughter the first time that he met her. Like,
I happen to have my camera.
I will share this picture in VIP group because she wanted her creepy baby doll face in there. It's very funny. He does lose his other kids by divorcing, but he can't lose his son too.
But that's the tough part for him right now, is because he views them all as his, and it's been 8 years. 8 years that he's had these other kids in his life as well that are his to him.
The moment you want this woman to change is the moment she will weaponize those kids against him.
True.
She will use them to abuse him, and because she doesn't care.
Do you think that with divorce, he has a chance of getting visitation with her bio kids, but his
legally, no.
kids too?
His best chance would be if their dad is still alive and talking to him.
Maybe.
To be in their lives. I don't know.
I have a feeling that she would be willing to play ball for a child support number.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So, OP, there is a possible path to still having a relationship with your other kids. And I know that's probably the big thing holding you back, but you have to understand that right now you're enabling her and have been this whole time. Because what does she have to say for you to be like, yeah, that's verbal abuse? Does she have to look at your kid and be like, you? And then you're like, okay, finally, that's it. No, it's because the translation of what she said to your son, get out. I want a picture with just my kids. Translation, you.
Right.
What does she have to say? How bad does it have to get before you're finally like, that's too far? And I understand this moment was the first moment you finally like, saw it. But you
Yeah.
knew before that because you came in and said that she actively ignores him. She'll pretend like he doesn't exist, which is abuse as well.
That is 100%
Neglect is abuse. Like
Yeah.
what?
150%. That is, I don't know how, if it's like first thing in the morning, I probably won't speak. But if I saw any of our kids walk into the room, how am I not going to speak to them? Like, how am I not going to talk to them and not acknowledge them, not tell them good morning, not tell them good night, not tell them how was your day, anything to engage them in conversation because they are our kids. Like, I don't understand how you could ever, a child living in your home, how you could ever treat them like this. This woman will not change. And I feel very strongly about that. Like, she has shown you who she is and you need to believe her because this
There's a sunk
has
cost
been
fallacy here too, though.
years. And if these kids, if you treated them with love and respect, they will come back to you. They will love you. They're old
That's
enough.
true. You're right. They were between 11 to 16. So I mean, these kids know, and interesting that they treat him like he's part of the family, but she doesn't. So even the
kids
youngest
understand
kid,
that.
the 11-year-old that OP's bio 10-year-old has to bunk with, treats him great.
Right.
It's only his wife that's butthurt about this.
If his stepkids are treating his bio kid good, they have a relationship. Like, to me, that says that OP is doing something right in his parenting with them. Like, they see that, they understand that, and I would hope that one day they want to have a relationship with him. But I don't think the relationship with your son, who literally has no one else. He doesn't have a mom. His mom passed away. You are his only parent still alive. Your wife is bullshit. She doesn't even exist in his world. You have to save him. Like, at this point, it's your job. I don't know.
And beyond to your point there, like how did you not immediately fall out of love with this woman?
Right?
Like, I think that's the next challenge you're gonna find. It's gonna be, if you do stay together
This is the
and
ick.
try to work on this, I think you're gonna find later on that there's a disconnect and you're having trouble romantically connecting, even if things do get better, which I still call bullshit on. It's an act. If someone is capable of doing what she did, she's got no interest in doing things better. You may have scared her into thinking her lifestyle has a potential of changing, so she better behave for a little bit until you loosen up the restrictions. But she will go right back to doing this shit. Like, your kids seeing you make the decision to choose them over someone who's causing them harm is huge for them. It is a huge, huge step for them. And even if they don't understand it right now, someday they will. And that goes for the 11 to 16-year-olds, her kids too. They, somewhere deep down, they get it. They've got to know. They've got to know that what their mom is doing is wrong. And yes, they will reach out. And I'm sure it's going to be a while. They'll probably have to hit 18, because if they try to reach out before then and these two split up, then that's when mom will weaponize them against him.
I think that she is a shit person, and I think that her kids don't mean as much to her as she thinks that, like, as she portrays to the public. I think that she has an image to uphold, and I don't. This is like one of the worst types of people, in my opinion. And maybe I feel that way because I'm in a blended family, and so I have a zero tolerance for this kind of behavior, but this is one of the worst types of people.
Yep. She already went to ASCOM 1. She's
Yeah, the whole board.
definitely a BIZZO. We gave her a DFHB fail. She's been kicked out of the DFHB. Never a chance at getting into that club
Right.
now. Ladies and gents, Dusty Thunder here with a Halloween spicy story. This one is actually a follower submitted Halloween spicy story. So, title of this story is, Am I the Astronaut for Pranking My Pregnant Wife with My Friends at a Halloween Party, Resulting in Her Overreacting? I, male 25, am married to my wife, Nissa, female 24, who is currently super pregnant. She's about 7 months along, and it has been a long road for us so far, but we've done good. My wife had put on a good 30 pounds of fat since getting pregnant. Hold on.
I don't think there's enough red flags.
Hold on. I don't think anybody can say this person has put on this much fat since getting pregnant. You know what pregnant means, right? It means she's growing a human inside of her. A human who, coincidentally, is not made up entirely of fat. And it's very visible. She looks nothing like the woman I've married, but I told her it's okay as long as she tries to keep her figure after she gives birth. Okay. Another round of red flags here, and also we're going to go straight into Brozo Town as well. You're right. Ask on one. This is a follower submission. OP, if you happen to be in chat, do me a favor. Do not claim your story. Don't do it. Don't do it. It'll be better for everyone if you don't. Just know this is not going to go well for you. While I understand that she's pregnant, and I don't judge her for that, it's just a true statement. My wife hates when I point it out or make any sort of comment about it. However, I know that if I gained the same amount of weight she did, she'd be making the same comments about me. If you were growing a baby inside of you, I don't think she'd be commenting on the fat that you've gained. No, I don't. I do not think that is an accurate statement. You douche canoe. We attended a costume party this past weekend, and my wife wanted me to go as the cat in the hat, with her being thing 1 and having thing 2 printed on her belly. So we did that. But I had a little surprise for her that I had set up with my buddies. Everyone at the party, around 20 people, give or take a couple naysayers, dressed up as my fat, pregnant wife with a massive baby bump, dark eye circle face paint, and messy-looking hairstyles. Bull! Shit, you did not get 20 people to decide to be the worst humans on the planet and dress up as your pregnant wife but made to look bad. There's no way that you know 20 people as shitty as you. There's just bullshit. Bullshit. It was supposed to be a funny Halloween prank to poke fun at her, but it was an absolute disaster. The second we walked in, she saw the first few costumes. She didn't seem to get the joke. But when I started laughing hysterically, telling her we found her village, she caught on that this was all for her and got a little butthurt about it, giving me side eyes and a silent treatment, of course. Like I said, it's not to judge her. I just don't think life should be taken that seriously. She's just fat. It is what it is. No, it ain't. So everyone was faking being pregnant at the party, quoting all of the complaints we've heard from her over the past few months. I'm so tired, so hungry, I need this and that, blah, blah. And I honestly think it's the best prank I've ever pulled off. And although my wife looked pissed at this point, I think she got the joke. But I excused myself to the restroom so I could change costumes into my fat suit costume. And when I came back out, she burst into tears and started tearing into me in front of the whole party about how I'm a heartless bastard and how we're all insanely cruel to poke fun at a pregnant woman like this. It was incredibly embarrassing for her to act like that in public. And I told her as much in the car. I just got silence. I told her I was sorry that she got offended and that this was supposed to be a harmless Halloween joke. I've been told I'm a little tone deaf to people's feelings occasionally, so maybe this is all coming off as more offensive than intended, but in my mind, I thought she'd have a sense of humor considering how massive she's gotten. If I was walking around fat and pregnant, you can't, okay. Looking like my wife, I'd expect her to make fun of me too. Now I've been sleeping on the couch and she barely talks to me in the mornings and evenings. The house is super uncomfortable and tense, and honestly, I feel more comfortable at work. Am I the astronaut here, or is my wife overreacting again? Again. I think we know how I feel. Candy Thunder, why don't you come up and tell us what you think about this spicy pumpkin?
Godspeed.
I need OP to bend over.
Yeah, this totally could be rage bait. I mean, like, kudos to the person that sent it to us, because you took time out of your day. We have your email. We know that you don't get to be called a man. This piece of shit exists in this world who thinks that women have to be a certain size, who thinks that pregnancy is just an excuse to get fat. So, I mean, we all know that this person actually exists. Whether or not someone could get 20 people to dress up like a pregnant wife, he might, depending on the kind of company that he keeps and depending on the person that he is. But I feel bad for women that have to go through pregnancy and hear shit like this. So I'm going to use this story for that because I've seen it happen. I've heard it from people that I know, and it's so... It just pisses me off. You guys already know how I feel about this. And when you're creating a life, like, that's what you're doing. That's your focus. You're exhausted. You're tired. Everything hurts. It's a grueling process. And then at the end of it, you don't get a badge of honor. You push something out of a 10-centimeter hole. So no, yeah, like, pregnancy is one of the hardest things that you will ever do. Also the most rewarding, but still, it's not great. And yeah, I'm going to send him an email that's like, hey, let's meet up. I just want to talk. Because if you were able to come up with something this horrific, you're an ask on one. That's what I'm going to say. But
Using it as a teaching moment. Use this as a lesson, because
Right.
if this is exaggerated, even if it's completely fabricated, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter,
that's-
because there are people like that. In
I
the
feel
world,
like
right?
this was a story, and like he probably got a couple people to dress up, but I do feel like he went over the top. But I do feel like that he looks at his wife and what he sees as a fat person instead of somebody who's creating life. And who cares? Like, it's 2024. That it doesn't matter. Like, inclusivity is
But having a baby and staying skinny is not a good thing.
no.
That would not be healthy at all. It seems like he's got a fundamental misunderstanding of like what pregnancy means.
I think he has a fundamental misunderstanding of what happens with a woman's body when pregnancy happens.
So
I
why-
think a lot of men have a fundamental
For sure.
misunderstanding of what happens
For sure.
when your uterus, expands to so many times its normal size, and everything inside your body is squished. You have to pee all the time. You're hungry all the time, and then you eat and you feel like shit. So
Why would she stay? That's my question. Why would she stay? Because she has to? Because there's no other
Hey!
reason for someone to stay.
we found the guy. He's on YouTube. Thank you, Angel, for muting him. But there he is. There you are. Hi. Let's talk later, okay? People like this, people that believe this, people think that pregnancy, like you're just doing them a service by bringing their baby into the world. That's how I feel about men that treat women like this when they're pregnant. If I was with someone and she was pregnant and that was my partner, I would take the most care of her in the entire world. Like, I would literally be at her beck and call. Like, I would do everything for her. I plan on doing that for our daughters if or when they choose to have kids. And I would do that for any pregnant woman that walked into my life, whether I knew her or not, because it is hard. It's overwhelming. And then at the end of it, like I said, you don't get a badge of honor. You get a baby and you go home and that baby is it's hard. Like, all of it's hard.
Yeah.
And 5 years down the road, you have this amazing child and it all was worth it, but it doesn't negate the fact that it's hard. Like, it is hard. And to not recognize that and to not see that and just call someone fat because they're creating life just makes me angrier than anything in this world, because it's just utter bullshit, and it's the most like narrow-minded, disgusting view of life that you could have. And
I have a Zeus lightning bolt that is just begging to meet your.
Ow. I hope that any woman that is made to feel this way, that is made to feel like she is less than for gaining weight while pregnant, understands that it's normal. And a year after you have your baby, then look at it, then work on it whenever you're ready to work on it, if you want to work on it.
So I imagine that, if she's staying because she has to and she's just trying to get through this, his involvement in the early stages of this child's life are really going to prove what kind of person and father and husband he is. And that's going to just reinforce further the fact that this asshole doesn't deserve a wife and a loving relationship with a child. And because of that, they're going to lose him. Hey there, it's Dusty with yet another story for you. This one comes from Just No Mother-in-Law. And the title of this one is Suing My Mother-in-Law for Defamation After Giving Birth to My First Child. I'm currently recovering from having my firstborn and thought this would let out some of my frustrations about the whole situation. For context, I'm 26 female and my husband is 29 male. We've been married for 2 years. Honestly, mother-in-law wasn't too bad at the beginning. She wasn't a super nice person, but my husband said that she's always like this. She was always neutral when it came to me, not happy, not sad, not mad. This changed when I got pregnant. It was also when we had moved a few states away. This was not planned. We weren't trying to get pregnant, and my job sent me to live in Washington, so we moved there, and then I found out that I was pregnant. Husband and I were elated, and with my new job and savings I've been building, we decided to keep the baby. We told his family after the second trimester, since I have a heart condition and some other chronic illnesses that made the first trimester difficult for me. It was emotionally and physically tiring, and I was constantly terrified of losing the baby. But we made it, and my doctors felt more confident, so we told our families over FaceTime. My husband's family was ecstatic. This would be their first grandchild. Father-in-law especially was excited. He's the sweetest man. But mother-in-law, for the first time, shared her own opinion. She didn't like it. We're expecting. I don't like it. That's the kind of thing, mother-in-law, that maybe you just keep to yourself next time. This is like Chandler saying he doesn't like dogs. Joey's like, don't do it. She said, "If you knew you were having a baby, why did you move so far away?" She accused me of moving closer to my family so that I would cut off my husband's family. My husband told her that we didn't know about the pregnancy when we moved. It just happened at the same time. It put a bit of a damper on the mood of the FaceTime, and we ended it early. Husband and I were both shocked at mother-in-law's behavior, but brushed it off. Again, she never did anything drastic to make me think she hated me or anything. Over the next week, she sent us email after email about houses back in our old state trying to get us to move back. Husband told her many times that we can't move. My job is here and I have to be in person 4 days a week. We had found a wonderful house, and even though we weren't planning on having any children yet, this house is perfect for us. Mother-in-law then started sending houses and apartments to only my husband. 1 bed, 1 bath. Telling him that he could get one of these and bring her baby to them while I work. What the actual hell? Husband shut that down super fast, saying his life was here now and he wouldn't be moving back. Hold up. She's like, well, if she's not coming back with you, then I know you're coming back alone, right? Bring my baby. She thinks she has ultimate control over him. He shut it down. He's green flags pending for hubby here. This behavior went on, but we ignored it, especially when we found out the baby might have the same heart condition. I had to go in to do a fetal echocardiography to check, and the stress started to give me palpitations. I was kept in the hospital for a few days for observation and then sent home. My husband was my rock during this time. Words cannot explain how much this man made me feel safe and cared for. This is probably why he didn't tell me of the continuing behavior of mother-in-law, which I don't blame him for. He was also working more, making sure our move-in was going okay, and also the emotional stress of the whole pregnancy. During this time, mother-in-law started sending baby stuff to our house, all male-gendered, even though we told her we weren't going to do a gender reveal or anything. I think all of that stuff is tacky, and I'm not premeditating my baby's room or toys or clothes by their sex. Plus, the stuff she sent was ugly as hell anyway. Time went on and I got better. My baby will most likely have my same heart condition, but the doctor said that any care or treatment can wait until post-birth. They're not worried about it at this time. Mother-in-law started posting on Facebook how her baby was in danger because of my poor health and accused me of intentionally trying to ruin the baby's life. I'm not on Facebook and neither is my husband, so we didn't know about this. Well, my due date comes and goes and my baby doesn't want to come out, so I'm induced into labor. People say you forget how bad childbirth is, and I don't know when that happens, but I hope it's soon because goddamn, it was traumatizing. I won't go into detail, but both my husband and I were relieved when it was over. Because of my stay in the hospital, she knew which location I would be giving birth at. Once she knew I was being induced into labor, she got on a plane and showed up to our house. She called my husband over and over again, but he never answered because he was busy becoming a father. That's when she showed up to the hospital at 3 a.m. in the morning looking for us. Luckily, she wasn't able to get into our area because we were close to the NICU, and there is extra security there. She called my husband again, and when he answered, she started yelling at him, telling him that she missed the birth of her baby and that she will never forgive him for this.
Her baby?
Yeah.
Her baby.
She did not mention that she was in the hospital. Husband was exhausted and just told her he'd call her back later. Husband went downstairs to get coffee and saw her. She demanded to see the baby, and when he said no, she freaked out again, claiming that I was breaking the family apart. She said I purposefully got pregnant as we moved, so I trapped us in Washington, and basically unloaded all of her thoughts and opinions about me throughout our entire relationship. Husband told her to go home and that he'll talk to her later. I had a girl, and both my husband and I love her so much. We got our own supplies and clothes, and we donated the stuff mother-in-law bought us. Ooh, I hope you filmed like the donation process, because you might need that later. We both stayed in the hospital 2 weeks. In that time, mother-in-law posted on Facebook like it was her job. She found pictures of babies with different ethnicity and posted them, not saying outright that I cheated on my husband, but letting other people think that. Hold up. I gotta read this again just to wrap my friggin' brain around it. Hold on. She found pictures of babies with a different ethnicity and posted them, not saying outright that I cheated on my husband, but letting other people think that. Wait, so side by side with, well, first of all, was posting pictures of your baby without an okay, and then was posting.
No, she only put that she was saying she cheated. Come on, babe. Come on.
She was just like going out and finding random baby pictures of babies of other ethnicities to post and say that this was her grandchild so that people would think that she cheated. Okay, I thought she was doing like a side by side comparison and being like,
No. She was saying
this bitch be cray. She gets the Delulu for show. When husband and I took our baby girl home, that's when everything caught up to us. One of my mother-in-law's posts went viral where she was asking for advice on how to claim guardianship of a grandchild if they are being abused by their parent. Like legit lawyers commented links and messaged her. People asked for our address to call CPS. Once they researched her profile page, they found my husband and I. They found his work, my family. My family's business's Yelp reviews were tanked, and the police did end up coming to our home. I had been home from the hospital for 4 days. I only had 4 days with my baby. My husband dealt with everything, and my cousin is a counselor for an attorney and is going to help us file a lawsuit against her for defamation. I am so exhausted and overwhelmed with this information. I'm in therapy, mental and physical. My therapist said it's good to write down what happened and how I'm feeling. I don't even know if I'll post this or for how long it'll be able to stay up. I love my husband. I love my baby, but this entire experience has made me so depressed. I don't know why she did this. I don't know what changed. That's the end. Okay. What are you like? What are they going to do for a defamation suit that's going to undo this? That's you can't undo the damage that she's done. She can't unring that bell. Even if she goes and makes a public apology and fesses up to being a bold-faced liar with malicious intent, that doesn't undo it. It doesn't undo the impact of people tracking down both of your workplaces and making God knows what contact with your workplaces, tanking your parents' small business. Like, there's no undoing of this. And to have someone who, just because they don't have control of the situation, just because they weren't the first person in line to get to see her, just because they view this grandbaby as their baby and they weren't given VIP tickets, is going to set the entire world on fire. And in doing so, put this child at risk, harms your child's financial stability by attacking your workplaces, harms this child's future by creating a social instability around the entire family. This isn't about the baby. She doesn't give a shit about the baby. She cares about her. She was disrespected by not giving preferential treatment. She was disrespected by you not immediately dropping everything and moving back home so that she could have easier access to her baby. This isn't going to be just defamation. This is going to be a protection order at minimum. The kind of things that she's done already should make you feel very unsafe. Jennifer, yeah, this BIZZO did all this within 4 days of the grandbaby's birth. Insane. This is wild. Candy Thunder, what do you think here? Let's bring her in. Come on, Mama Bear. What would you do?
I wouldn't have to do anything. You would have already gone apeshit. You would have already put a stop to it. Like, I read this story and I was shocked. Like, this woman thought that what she was going to get, like, she wanted this to be her baby. Mm-hmm. Like, she wanted to find out how she could get grandparents' rights, or like, it's like it was like some kind of piece of property and she was fighting over it in some kind of unethical way. Like, I don't even understand why people think that this is going to get you what you want, or why you think you're entitled. One, why the do people think they're entitled to show up where a woman is giving birth? Like, it's some kind of spectacle for people to just stop in and like take a look-see and see when the baby might come. And, oh, is it crowning? I want to see. I want to be there for the entire thing. I want to watch you push out a baby out of your vagina. No, it's not a spectacle. It's birth, and it's personal.
I'm just saying, like, we're never going to have another kid. But if somehow it ends up happening, we'll live stream it for you.
I didn't even look.
I'll live stream it for you.
Why? I mean, yeah, like, I'll take on your mother-in-law myself, because this just pisses me off. Like, to do this to someone who, one, already has like an unstable condition, who is pregnant, with the stress of the pregnancy causing her unstable condition to accelerate and could possibly be affecting the baby or not. Like, the baby could have the condition as well. And you're like, yeah, you know what I'll do? I'm going to up your life even more, and I'm going to make your life even harder. And you know, like, and I always say this, even if the story isn't true, people do this all day, every day, and they do it to people to try to get their way because they don't feel, what are you missing in your life that you have to treat people like this? what is it? I don't understand like why people go out of their way to, is it just being right? Like, is it
I don't.
control? Like, what? That's not your baby. That's not your egg. It's not your sperm. You didn't make the baby. It doesn't belong to you. Back the off and quit trying to butt into people's lives. Like, quit trying to show up at the hospital. Quit trying to take over. And you don't get grandparents' rights 4 days after a baby is born. Like, it's just, it does not work that way. But also, this isn't a nurse Hannah thing. This is you with somebody's life. You with somebody's parents' jobs. Like, you messed with their workplace. You put their freaking address on blast. Like, you doxed them to the highest level, and you're his mom. Like, this is your grandbaby, and you with their entire life. Like, this is not the situation where you call CPS. And honestly, like, a lesson to not believe everything that you see online. Like, unless you're seeing it happen with your own eyes, do not believe every story that you read online.
Which really confuses me here, because I'm with the majority of chat who's like, she's not all there. Because imagine this web that she's weaving of deceit, right? If the end game in her mind was that she actually ended up with custody of this child somehow, the interwebs would be very confused, because that's not the baby she posted.
Right? And why does she want custody of the baby if the baby's not even her son's? She doesn't have any rights to the baby.
Because she can get attention when she has the baby.
God.
And what she did instead was get attention in this other way. Oh, and her post going viral, can you imagine the amount of ego inflation she was going through? And not just that, but all of that inflation going into just fuel for her believing she's right throughout all this too.
Right.
She wasn't truthful in what she said. She knows that. So maybe she is all there. Mm-hmm. But, she's got a lot more, like her stance is cemented now.
Steady chaos. Munchausen by internet. They're addicted to the attention that they get on the internet because people feel sorry for them. And it allows them to spin this narrative that is so far from the truth. And then people just fall into this story and believe it. And there are people that will call CPS. And if CPS gets enough calls, like here in the United States, like if they get enough calls for one certain thing, they're going to check it out.
Yeah.
There's going to be some kind of follow-up that happens with it. But why would you do this to your son? I mean, like, remove the wife and baby from that. Why would you do this to your child? Like, why? As a mother, how could you just stand by and be like, this is the best course of action. This is exactly what I want to do. This is totally going to get me into my grandchild's life. She just made certain that she will never see this baby. She will never know her grandchild. And she lost her son.
And again, the only thing that makes sense is that it was never about the kid. Like, she never gave a shit about the kid. It was about the attention that she would get from the kid, because what she did afterward, posting what she posted and running this all the way back, it's the only thing that makes sense. It was all about the attention the entire time.
This is how my mother is. Why? Like, it's like these moms, like, just never grew up, like, never stopped caring about them. I don't. Stopped caring about themselves. Stopped caring about control. I don't.
Which shines a lot of light into how children, like direct children of mothers like this, were raised, right? It was never about them.
Right.
It was about the attention that they could get her. So, damn.
100% certain. If you demand to be at the hospital when a baby is being born, you don't care about the baby. You don't care about the mom. You only care about how it makes you feel. You have zero care about how you're making the person in labor feel.
Hello there. This is Dusty Thunder with another Reddit story for you. This one is a little bit special because it's a his side, her side from the Am I Overreacting subreddit. This is the his side, her side story title. Am I overreacting for getting upset when my wife had another man in the delivery room? Last month, my 28 male wife, 25 female, called me in a frenzy, telling me that her water broke and that she was going into labor. This was incredibly shocking to both of us because she was still early on in the pregnancy. The problem with this is that I was already on the road about 30 minutes away tending to my mother, who had just called to tell me that she was in an accident. Not a significant one, but it still shook her up. I told my wife to call an ambulance because I would not be turning around to drive her to the hospital and witness her birth. She yelled, cursed, cried, and screamed at me through the phone while I tried to calm her by telling her to call my sister if she didn't want to call an ambulance, since my sister only lives 20 to 25 minutes away. What? Hold on. Time out, time out, time out. I don't think the words I have read on this page were conveyed with the proper gravity for the situation. So I will reread it with the proper gravity for the situation. I told my wife to call an ambulance because I would not be the one turning around to drive her to the hospital and witness her birth. We don't even really have to read any more of the story. Let's go ahead and do this. What the bro? There's no other way to go now. After this, she went silent and hung up, and I didn't hear from her for about 1 hour and a half. I checked my phone for the first time since getting to my mother. My sister sent me a video of my wife actively giving birth while holding her male friend's hand, the way women squeeze their husband's hands for comfort during labor. My sister immediately followed up the video with the text that said, "When are you going to get here?" I ignored this text and asked her if she's the one who drove my wife to the hospital, and she responded, "No." I asked her who did, and she informed me that it was my wife's male friend who lives only 10 minutes away. I ended up just asking my sister for the full story while I drove my mother back to her home since everything was sorted with the accident. Long story short, instead of calling my sister or an ambulance, my wife called her male friend that I've always disliked but never informed my wife. I told my sister to get on FaceTime with me, but not to make it obvious to anyone else in the delivery room, and I would stay silent on the other end. During the call, I saw my wife's friend rubbing her back, wiping her tears, comforting her when she screamed and cried, etc. I couldn't bear the sight, and I ended the FaceTime and told my sister to inform my wife that I would be at the hospital the next day after work whenever she got out of labor. So you decided right then you weren't even going? You're like the I'm only taking my real kids guy. You're just hell-bent on destruction at this point. What are you doing? My sister called almost 2 hours later to tell me she left the hospital and that my wife would be staying the night. Well, yeah. The next day around 3 to 4 p.m., when I went over to the hospital to see my wife and newborn son, she was not trying to hide her anger and saltiness from anyone in the room. That included mostly my family and some of hers. When I asked her why she was acting this way, she rolled her eyes and told me to leave her the alone in front of everyone. Later, when I tried to hold my son, she snatched him from my hands. In this hospital, visiting hours ended at 8, but all the guests, excluding me, left by 6. When we were left alone, I finally got the chance to have a conversation with her about why she's being so salty on a memorable day that should have been filled with love and joy. She responded by getting angry and mumbling something about my audacity to miss her birth and be surprised that she's angry. I'm not proud of this, but in response, I called her a cheater for inviting another man into the delivery room in place of her husband. This spiraled into a short, full-blown argument between us that eventually ended with a NICU nurse coming back with a baby. How did his ass not get kicked out of this room by now? It's been a month since then, and my wife only refused to our son as her son, her baby, etc. I've tried to get closer to her by sitting down and trying to have a deep conversation about our family's future, and she flat out told me that she was never having another child with me after what happened, which deeply hurt me. Last week, I heard my wife on the phone talking about who would be godfathers and mothers to our son. She told whoever was on the other end of that she would be choosing the male friend as godfather because he was there for me when OP couldn't care less. This post is all over the place, but let me know if I overreacted in the argument when I saw her in the delivery room after she gave birth, or if anyone knows how to fix my marriage and family. Edit. No, this is not rage bait. I genuinely need advice. Sorry if the wording made it seem that way. I also didn't know the accident was minor until I arrived, and everyone suggesting we get a divorce doesn't know the meaning and dedication of marriage and family. No, sir! You do not know the meaning of dedication and marriage and family. You, sir, have chosen not to have one. The audacity to make that statement after the bullshit you just pulled. What the? If you have any questions, please message me if you want me to answer. Okay, let's get to the her side. I can't wait. Girl, I hope she's just like, yeah, this guy's the biggest piece of shit on the planet, and I'm leaving him. Also, it sounds like he left when the baby came back. He said he wasn't going to the hospital to witness her birth. See some consistency here, dude? Her birth, her child. She's been referring to him as her child now because you said it was her birth. You already... her side. Update for Am I Overreacting for getting upset at my wife for having another man in the delivery room. I'm the wife from that post. A friend found it and sent it to me. Still don't get why he didn't post it on a burner account. Anyway, I decided to make an account to respond, clear some things up, and tell my side of the story as briefly as I can. Yes, I did call my husband to tell him that my water broke, and he did tell me that he wouldn't make it and to call an ambulance or his sister, who has called me a slur to my face before, so I don't know why he thought that would be a good idea. I did not call his sister because we don't get along, and I have a friend that lives closer to us. He ends up driving me to the hospital, and his sister pulls into the lot almost right after us. Don't know how she knew I was going, so now I'm in pain, scared, upset at my husband, and have someone I don't like with me during my most vulnerable moments. I was holding my male friend's hand because why wouldn't I be? Now, it was very obvious that sister-in-law was recording me in some way because she was basically isolating herself from everyone else in the room with her phone to her chest and pointed at me. Wait. Super sneaky, sis. Way to go. I didn't think that she was on FaceTime with anyone. I just thought she was filming me, which is equally as weird as I'm not sure why I brushed it off or didn't ask about it when I was more stable. My husband did in fact show up the next day around 4 p.m. and tried to act like nothing happened, and I was very moody and rude to him, which was probably very immature of me. This later broke out into an argument after everyone left where he called me a cheater, and I also said some very nasty things. I have been isolating me and my son from him as much as I can and trying to be less dependent on him in some aspects. The reason for this is because I feel like I can't trust him to keep my son safe or change his diaper or pour my breast milk into a bottle and feed him or burp him or basically do anything for my son at all. Notice the my's there, not ours. It is true that my son and I are financially dependent on my husband, like he has stated before, and because of this fact, I cannot divorce him, not now at least, because I do not have any support system or family that lives near us to help me and my son. I am still in school. I know staying for the kids isn't healthy, but my family has recommended that I stay for the sake of my schooling and my son's happiness. My husband has stated many times that he apologized, but these, quote, apologies were just along the lines of, "I'm sorry, will you stop being angry now?" That's a BROZO apology. Like that's like the BROZO apology. "I'm sorry, will you stop being angry now? I'm sorry, are we okay now?" No, I am not sleeping with my male friend. We've been friends since second grade, and there's never been anything romantic or sexual between us. Please don't mind my spelling or grammar. English is not my first language, nor am I from an English-speaking country, and this was also rushed. Feel free to ask any questions because I tend to leave details out. This whole thing feels as unreal as it sounds, LOL. Also, a nurse never came back with the baby after the argument. That's not even how it works. So he ended up just leaving. 4 p.m. the next day. This guy is the worst. It's the worst. It's not, this is more than being an AskCon one. This is more than being a BROZO. Like the obvious play, because it's your baby and it's your wife birthing that baby early, which is like red flags, alert, something's not right. It's more dangerous now. Immediately turn the car around and call your sister to take over getting to your mom. That is the play that every dad on this planet would make. Save you, sir, who now... Just because I said I wasn't going to be there doesn't mean you could have someone else there. When I said that I wasn't going to be there, it meant that you were going to be sitting there alone, so that you would appreciate me more when I did show up. But you had your male friend, Chad, there, and he was rubbing your back, and you were holding his hand, and it sure looked like you guys were a married couple, and that hurt me. Should have turned the car around, you jabroni. You did all of this to yourself, and all the friend did was show up and be supportive. He did the basic minimum thing that another human would do. This was your wife, and you chose not to do those things. You no longer have a say. You will soon no longer have a family. I hope you can surgically remove your head from your own ass, go back to the hospital, ask them to deliver that, because you're going to need it to be any kind of dad to this kid. The only happy ending from the story at all could be that you guys separate, you eventually figure out how big of a tool bag you are, fix it, and then you can have a decent relationship with your kid. That is the best I can hope for you, you dumbass. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder again with another spicy Reddit story for you. This one is titled, "Am I the Astronaut for Leaving My Infant Child Home Alone While She Was Asleep?" No. Please read the whole thing. General statements of judgment without any intelligent feedback are entirely unhelpful. I am legitimately looking for flaws in my thinking. It's like the beginning of Law and Order. Context. I live in a very small town, the type of place with 8 roads where people drive golf carts to get around, and it's not surprising to see 6-year-olds riding the streets on their 4-wheelers or dirt bikes. My daughter is 6 months old and a very consistent sleeper. After she falls asleep, she doesn't wake up to eat until 4 to 5. She sleeps with only a pacifier, no blankets or toys in the crib with her. I have a network PTZ camera above her crib. The camera is set up to send a push notification to my and my spouse's phones if any movement is detected, and it is very sensitive. Both my internet connection and my wireless reception are very reliable. I love my children very much. My spouse and I work hard to ensure we are meeting our kids' needs physically, mentally, and emotionally. We don't use phones, tablets, or TV to babysit our kids, so we can do stuff around them, but not with them. The event. I had a small get-together with some friends in town. It's 6 blocks from my house. It feels like 3, but it is 6. Before leaving, I double-checked the monitor and made sure my daughter was asleep. I took my golf cart to the get-together. I knew I would be down there for 2 to 3 hours before my spouse would get home. My spouse and I were on the same page with this decision. I had a friend that got very upset with me about this decision, and some of the things that they said about me have pissed me off and rubbed me the wrong way. Am I the astronaut for leaving my daughter at home in this specific situation? Things for consideration. The biggest indictment of my decision is, what if something happens? Well, I've thought about that, and I believe that to be a boogeyman question. I prefer to consider much more specific questions and risks. What if she stops breathing? I sleep 8 hours at night. There are so many times when I am under the same roof as her, and if she were to randomly stop breathing, I wouldn't know it for hours, and being home would benefit me 0. What happens if someone were to come in the home and take her? A, small town where everyone knows everyone. Again, the type of town where young elementary age kids are permitted to walk the town park and play without adult supervision. B, the same thing could happen with some of our younger babysitters. What if she starts crying? She is safe in her crib. If she starts crying, I hop on my golf cart and run home quickly. What if you get hurt or have a medical emergency and can't return home? What if I have a heart attack in my home? The emergency argument is just as likely while I'm home alone as when I'm out with others. What if there's a fire? I primarily trust the odds on this one, especially considering time away and distance from home. Top comment, YTA. This isn't just being an asshole. This is called child neglect. Assume the following statements apply if you live in the US. There is a common misconception that CPS is a bunch of child-stealing assholes who like to break up functional families and take kids and. This simply is not true. The vast, huge majority of family and CPS interactions end with the child staying right at home. This includes the vast majority of cases even when abuse or neglect has been substantiated. That's right, folks. Social workers don't actually want to take your kids. They do it as a last case, this child might actually die if we don't intervene, choice. Guess where your choice puts you? Yep, squarely in the last case scenario. Let's say for whatever reason your infant was discovered home alone. Let me tell you what would happen next. A, you and your husband would both be arrested. You're in a small town, so your names would be prominently featured in the local news, and depending on your state and local laws, it's entirely possible the headlines would be accompanied by lovely pictures of both your mugshots. B, your infant would be transported to the hospital without your consent, and you would most definitely not be allowed to accompany them. The whole actively being arrested and booked for child neglect thing, remember? At the hospital, your lone, terrified baby would be subjected to a very invasive exam looking for signs of physical and sexual abuse, as well as any sign of long-term physical or medical neglect. C, child services will be contacted by the sheriff, police, EMS, and emergency room, and each agency would separately fill out a legally mandated suspected child abuse or neglect form. And trust me, when that mountain of paperwork shows up, it's noticed. The social worker would take emergency custody of your baby. You would not be consulted on this, nor would you have any legal standing to prohibit it. In fact, you're probably still busy being booked and or getting transported to whichever jail your county does overnight before you see a judge, because your small town sure as heck does not have those required accommodations. E, your baby will be placed in a foster home. That might, if you are very lucky, be a family member. More likely, it will be someone within your state who is licensed but has no connection with your baby. F, that emergency stay will last anywhere from 3 days to 2 weeks, and that is just the legal maximum allowed before a case must go before a family judge. This, of course, assumes there's no case backload. I've seen emergency placements last for months, not because of cruelty of child services or the courts, but because the docket is booked. G, you will come before the judge. Child services will present their case, and I can assure you that most definitely, unless you are wildly lucky, the judge will approve continued placement with child services until child services determines whether you are a fit parent for your child to return to. Honestly, the best case outcome, 6 months later after intensive family involvement, parenting classes, drug testing, supervised visits, your baby comes home again. And that's pretty rarely a best case outcome. Stop being an asshole. Let's get her up here. Candy Thunder, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about this for a minute because,
So I picked this story, one, because I loved this top comment, and I love that she spelled everything out for this OP. Whether or not this story is true, people do this. They actually do this shit. And she gave all these reasons of why she could go do this, but never once did she say, like, I shouldn't do this because I chose to become a mom. I chose to have a baby. I chose to be a parent. That's all you need. That is it. If you chose to be a parent, your baby goes with you, or you stay home with your baby if you do not have a sitter. That is it. You don't just leave your baby 6 blocks down the road. Well, it feels like 3. No, if it's 6 blocks, it's 6 blocks. You do not leave your 6-month-old baby at home 6 blocks away and go to a party. What party is more important than your baby? Because for me, it is none. I chose to bring that child into the world. That child is mine to care for. And I would never risk something like this happening to my children. Ever, 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 ever.
She said her spouse was coming home in a couple hours. Why would you just wait?
Why?
Wait till your spouse is home and then go. Like, why can't you wait?
You don't, if you're at home and you need to work outside or do whatever, you go as far as the monitor will reach.
Right.
When you lose service, that's your barrier. You don't go farther.
They have a network camera, so they've got it feeding through Wi-Fi, and that's the.
There you go. This has given you a false sense of I don't even know what the word is, but a false sense of trust. That camera is not a parent. You are the parent. Don't rely on a camera only to give you, don't rely on the camera to give you, what's the word?
A false sense of security.
There you go. Yes, thank you.
I mean, there's so many things the risk. She cannot deny that the risk increases with her distance. I understand she's trying to, which each one of these, and with the fire thing, she's like, I'm gonna trust the odds on this one. Oh, okay, you're trusting the odds.
Yeah.
You're gambling with your child's life, and the fact that that's even a discussion is not okay. You can't do that.
Right.
I love how you try to make the case for yourself by being like, we don't use electronics to babysit our children, so we can do stuff around them, but not with them. It doesn't matter.
You're using an electronic to babysit your child because you're watching it from 6 blocks away. Has cameras that connect to your phone. We had one when Navy was younger. It was the Owlet cam. We could see it on our phone. Has that given parents this false sense of security that they can walk further away from a child? There were people in comments saying that when they were younger, under 1, their mom would take their dad to work, which ended up being an hour round trip while they were sleeping, and under 1-year-old. And I'm like, don't leave your baby alone.
Right.
It is not complicated. Don't leave the baby alone, ever. I don't think there's ever any reason that you should leave your child alone.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's some dad talk in here too, but he agreed with her. At least according to OP, they were on the same page about it. He may not be.
Right.
He may not do that.
I don't know.
You know what?
Brought the baby in a carrier, something.
I bet she feels like ASCON 3, but it's really a 1.
I feel like she thinks she's NTA.
No, I know. I was making them. Just connecting the dots with the whole feels like 3 blocks. It's actually 6.
I was too short.
Too short for that one.
Yeah.
Too short for that one. This story is from the AITAH subreddit and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Canceling My Wedding After How My Fiance Feels About My Daughter? Ah, shite. Before you read my post, I am not from America. I'm sorry if my writing is terrible, but I will do my best. For background context, I was married when I was 22 and my husband was 25. He had a daughter who was 2 when we married. I considered her my daughter in every way. My husband passed away sadly when she was 4. Well, that's terrible. So I, 34 female, have been with my fiance Jesse, 35 male, for 8 years. My daughter Bailey is 14 female. She considers Jesse her father. Jesse has never treated Bailey wrong at all, but knows of my husband who had passed away. Jesse always treated her sweetly and like a daughter. I'm currently 6 months pregnant. We are all excited. Jesse has told me how he wants to adopt Bailey after getting married, to surprise her. Okay. All signs are looking good right now. Shit's about to go sideways, though. We are getting married in August. I wouldn't say we are close to being done with everything, but we did plan a big dinner, and I did invite my friends and Jesse's friends. Bailey was staying the night over at a close friend's house, so Bailey wasn't there. We were all catching up and having a great night. Just all around happiness from everybody, till the topic of the wedding came up. That is when things went downhill. It was all good. We got talking about our honeymoon. We were going to bring Bailey because that was our plan. When Jesse did say he didn't want to bring Bailey, which kind of shocked me because we both agreed to it, I was taken aback from it. He started going on about how now we both have a real child and we don't have to pretend anymore to take care of my stepdaughter, who was never my real child. And there it is. Heartbreak, we meet again. This point, all of our friends and I were very flabbergasted and looked at him like he had said something crazy or like he had something crazy on top of his head. He kept going on and on until I kind of freaked out in front of everybody and told him that Bailey would always come first and he is last to me now, that he had to leave and I'm canceling the wedding. He tried to talk to me, but I was not in shape to hear him. His friends escorted him out for me and left with him. Few of my girlfriends stayed with me that night. Jesse has been blowing up my phone so much, wanting to work things out. I honestly don't ever want to. I haven't told Bailey what happened and just lied to my family and his about why we canceled the wedding. I just want some quiet now and not for anyone to be upset. But some of his friends messaged me saying he has the right to talk about his feelings and opinions, which got me so puzzled at this point. Am I the astronaut? Hold up. Yeah, he has the right to an opinion. You have the right to a reaction, OP. You have the right to your opinion about his opinion. Him having the right to an opinion does not mean that it has to be accepted. He can think whatever the he wants. That doesn't mean you have to accept it. Just because one person has free will doesn't mean the other doesn't. Bullshit. And the friends who were all looking at him like he was talking crazy after the fact were like, well, you know, he's got a right to his opinion. Sure, he does not have the right to expect things to be okay after he gets on his soapbox at a dinner with a lot of attendees and says crazy shit about how this girl that he has treated like a daughter for years, and you have treated like a daughter for even more years, has all been pretend, and you don't have to pretend anymore. He doesn't have the right to say that selfish shit and expect everything to be okay. He doesn't have a right to force that opinion on you and make you accept it and adapt to it. You have a differing opinion here. That's why there's this collision. So the friends piping in and being like, well, you know, he's got his right to his opinion, sure. Everybody has the right to have a stupid, dumbass, back-ass words opinion that gets them alienated by their fiance. Everybody has that right. He just exercised his. Good job. Good job, fiance. Way to exercise that right to an opinion. Landed you alone. And the kind of damage that you just did to this girl who has thought you were a father figure for, 8 years? I don't know what broke inside of you to flip the script, to just be able to just callously throw that away. And understanding at some point you had to be able to consider the implications of the damage that this would cause this girl and go ahead and say it anyway. You're an asshole, the worst kind. So enjoy single life. And OP, way to stand your ground and way to stand up for this girl who only has you, apparently. She's how old now? 14? She's 14. And you are literally all she has. And someone just told you that you were going to stop pretending to care for her and take care of her. And instead of being like, yeah, okay, that sounds good, you're like, get out. Nice. Nice work. And luckily all this shit happened before you got married, before he adopted her, which apparently was all just an act anyway. I don't think he would have actually gone through with it. It's something, that's what I don't understand. He was willing to adopt her after you got married, but somewhere between saying that and this dinner, either somebody got to him or something happened to make him just really change his thoughts on things. And there's nothing in this story to connect us to that person, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say his mom might have something to do with it. Somebody got to him. Somebody. Oh shit. Yes, she's pregnant. No! I understand that's a tough decision. No, it's not a tough decision. I understand that's a difficult situation, but just you got to know in your bones going into this that you can give a child a happier home in two separate happy homes rather than one miserable home. And that's what you were headed toward. Both of those kids deserve way better than that. And you did the right thing. Just know you did the right thing. It's not going to be easy. It wouldn't have been easy no matter what. I can tell you this, though. Your life is going to be easier and happier without that dark cloud in it. Without that dark cloud in your house, waking up to it every day. Your life is going to be happier. Those girls' lives are going to be happier. Was your baby a girl? I don't know. Those kids' lives are going to be happier because you are putting them first. You're doing the right thing. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be easier than the alternative, though, because misery is tough. It's gravity. There's gravity in situations, right? There's gravity in situations where the easy thing is normally the path of least resistance, and that leads to being manipulated or just letting other people make decisions for you. But what comes after? What comes after? Being miserable requires more energy. It eats up more of your focus. It takes up more of your time that you could be doing things that you love or spending quality time with those kids. You are going to wallow in that, and the deficit it will cause on your life is not worth it. There's no positive brought to it. Well, because you have a full family with him there. Your family's going to feel a lot more full without him there, based on what just happened. And just knowing that it's weird because he was good, bad. There was no gradual slide. There was no big pivotal moment, at least not that we know of here. He just changed his mind and decided to become a shit human being, which means he's been acting this whole time, and he's really been a shit human being all along. What else could this be? What else could it be? The final story for this 24-hour live stream. Let's rock and roll. Am I the astronaut for making my boss do a 24-hour live stream? I have a feeling I know who this follower. Hey, Dusty, longtime follower who has been here from the start. I recently had a crazy idea. I, 31 male, work at a marketing agency. We have a badass team of creative individuals. And about a year and a half ago, my boss, let's call him Rusty. At this point, that's accurate. Created a TikTok account where he reads stories from Reddit. Over time, it grew like crazy. It has been a crazy ride, and we have built a great community of loyal and supportive followers. Their passion for my boss's stories and our team is second to none. After watching another internet personality do a 37-hour live stream, I had a thought. What if we did a 24-hour live stream? I thought this would be a home run idea to help grow our following on YouTube. Then it came time to pitch the idea to my boss, and my other boss, his lovely wife, let's call her Mandy. Naturally, Rusty was on board almost immediately, but he told me that I had to get Mandy on board. I knew that my best chance to get this approved would be to come up with a solid plan and organize it as much as possible. The planning ensued. Once I was able to get Mandy on board, we pitched it to the rest of the team, and they hesitantly joined in the planning process. We spent the following weeks doing prep work here and there, and I knew I had plenty of time to pull it off. Then all of a sudden I blinked and we only had a week to go. We had to compile 100 stories to read in 24 hours. Our awesome team, which includes, names changed to protect the innocent, Braden, Niles, Tessie, Blaine, and Mandy, worked hard to put together everything for Rusty's live stream. Our amazing group of followers and subscribers were on board and couldn't have been more supportive. It was a long day, night, and day again. Rusty and I somehow made it the whole 24 hours. We might have lost a few brain cells, but I think it was worth it. It showed the true power of not only our team, but really highlighted the amazing commitment that our followers have. Rusty handled it like a pro and made it the full 24 hours, read dozens of stories, and entertained thousands of people. He's a true rock star, and Mandy might want to strangle me while Rusty recovers, but I think it was a great adventure. So, Dusty, am I the astronaut for making my boss do a 24-hour live stream, or am I DFHB approved? Look at that. We got the DFHB approved here. Heck yeah. Nice work. Tony Spark, the maestro of this 24-hour live stream, everybody.
It was weird. That follower submission came through, and I don't know who that is. What a coincidence.
It's crazy.
What a coincidence that somebody else did a 24-hour live stream. That's crazy.
Hello there, it's Dusty Thunder with a story from AITAH for you. This one is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Breaking My Husband's Golf Clubs After He Left Me Alone with Our Newborn Twins? Oh, shit. Here we go. I, 28 female, recently gave birth to our twin babies, a boy, Oliver, and a girl, Lily. They're almost 9 weeks old now, and while I'm overjoyed to be a mom, I've never felt more physically and emotionally drained in my life. I suffered from postpartum hemorrhage right after delivery and lost so much blood that I had to be rushed into emergency surgery. I nearly died. I was in the hospital for almost 2 weeks recovering. The physical recovery has been brutal, but the emotional toll is even worse, and I feel like I'm drowning every single day. My husband, Matt, 32 male, was helpful while I was recovering in the hospital, but once we got home, he checked out. He works a 9-to-5 job, but instead of helping when he's home, he escapes to his man cave to play video games or go out with friends. This guy has no clue what having a baby is about. Just because we didn't carry or birth the baby doesn't mean that we get to do that shit, brozo. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and give him this right now too. Holy, okay. I'm left alone to care for the twins, and the exhaustion has become unbearable. I've been having terrible complications from the hemorrhage, constant pain, weakness, and intense anxiety. I still can't walk properly without getting dizzy, and breastfeeding has been a nightmare. Lily struggles to latch, which leads to bleeding nipples, and every feeding session feels like torture. You got the brozo and the laughter, and that would be for a normal pregnancy. Like, you have a complicated pregnancy with lots of issues to deal with after the fact here, and you're exponentially worse. I've tried to ask Matt for help, but every time I do, he brushes me off. His go-to excuse is that I'm on maternity leave, and this is what moms do. He says he needs to decompress after work and that I should be grateful he's working to provide for us. Meanwhile, I'm lucky if I get 30 minutes of sleep in between feedings, and I'm running on pure adrenaline at this point. Last week, after another exhausting day with no help, I tried to talk to him about how I felt like I was drowning. His response? He asked when we were going to start having sex again. He said it's been 2 months and I'm getting frustrated.
You do. You.
Oh, it's like, what the... But having kids will show you how selfish you really are, right? Well, it didn't take this guy long at all. It's like, I want to play video games, I don't want to have sex. Kids are getting in the way. I was speechless. My body hasn't even fully healed from the traumatic birth, and he was acting like I was depriving him. When I tried to explain how much pain I was still in, both physically and emotionally, he rolled his eyes and said, other women bounce back after having babies. It's not that hard. You got to stop using it as an excuse. Okay, we'll go ahead and go all the way to AskCon 1, and there's more to the story, but this guy just hit the ceiling. What? Like, I don't even understand how someone can be this dumb. I don't understand how someone can be this dumb and this selfish. I don't understand. Make it make sense. I felt so ashamed in that moment, like I wasn't good enough, wasn't recovering fast enough, wasn't being enough for him. It's not like I didn't want to be intimate with him again. I missed the closeness we used to have, but I was still bleeding occasionally, and I could barely walk without wincing. My whole body felt like it was failing me, and instead of being patient or supportive, Matt acted like I was deliberately withholding sex from him. He even tried to initiate once when I was barely 5 weeks postpartum, and I had to practically beg him to stop because it was too painful. He got frustrated and said, "Come on, it's been long enough," and huffed off like a teenager. Every time I tried to talk to him about how overwhelming things are, he'd steer the conversation back to when we'd be having sex again, like that was the only thing on his mind. This Saturday was my breaking point. The babies had been fussy all night, and I hadn't slept more than an hour in 48 hours. I was completely exhausted, and with my anemia still making me weak, I could barely stand. The incision from my surgery was throbbing with pain. Matt had left early that morning for a full day of golf with his buddies, despite knowing how rough my night had been. He said he'd be back by noon, but noon came and went, and he was still out. He was golfing at a course that was only an hour away, so I figured if things got too bad, he'd come home. Around 4 p.m., I was trying to feed Oliver while Lily was crying. My hands were shaking from sheer exhaustion, and in that moment, I almost dropped Oliver. I caught him just in time, but it scared me so badly that I collapsed on the floor in tears. I texted Matt, begging him to come home, telling him that I was scared and overwhelmed. His response, "Just put them in their cribs and rest. I'll be home later." Later turned into 9 p.m., by which time I was a complete mess. I had been alone with the twins all day with no help, no food, and no sleep. When Matt finally walked through the door, he didn't seem to care at all. He saw me sitting on the floor with the twins still crying and giggled. Yes, giggled. He looked down at me, smiling like it was all some kind of joke, and said, You're being overdramatic. You should have just handled it. I saw red. His smug, dismissive little giggle was the final straw. In a blind rage, I grabbed his beloved golf clubs, the one he's obsessed with, and smashed them against the floor. I broke 2 of them before Matt even realized what was happening. He started screaming at me, calling me crazy and psycho for breaking something so expensive, and accusing me of losing it. After that, he stormed out of the house and spent the night at a friend's place. His best friend has since been texting me, calling me a psycho, and saying I'm unhinged for destroying his clubs. He told me that I owe Matt a huge apology for overreacting and that he's been trying his best. But has he? I'm here day after day, struggling to keep it together with 2 newborns while still recovering from a traumatic birth. I've been so weak that I've nearly dropped my baby, and Matt hasn't been around to help. He works during the week, and I understand that, but every weekend he's out golfing or with his buddies. And whenever he comes back from work, he's either watching sports or playing online games. I haven't had more than 2 hours of sleep at a time in weeks. I feel like I'm drowning. I'm starting to feel like maybe I did overreact, but at the same time, I'm so angry that he doesn't seem to care about how hard things have been for me. Am I the astronaut for breaking his golf clubs? No. Pain creates change. What is it gonna be that creates enough pain for this Cuntosaurus Rex piece of shit human being to finally have the fog lifted from his eyes and be like, oh, wow, I'm a really big piece of shit? Who taught this boy what being a dad is about? Who taught him? Was it his father? Somebody needs slapped around. Somebody needs to be sat down and have a firm talking to get to the bottom of where the this guy got the idea that this is how you be a father. It's supposed to be hard. In the beginning, you're both supposed to be zombies. It's part of the magic of it, really. Instead, if it's all on one person, like, oh my gosh, dude, not only did she just pop 2 babies out of her body, she had to be rushed to the emergency room. She almost died, and then gets home and you're like, all right, you got this, deuces. I'm gonna play video games and go swing my golf clubs with the boys because my life just keeps going on like nothing ever happened, except I don't get sex when I want it now. You have a family now. You have a family. You have children who you don't even know because you'd rather play video games and go golf than get to know your own kids. You'd rather go play COD and score terribly, hitting from the sand traps and from the rough and losing 18 balls on a course because why? Why? Are you afraid to like attempt to be a father to your children? Are you afraid to jump in and do the things that you know aren't easy or that you aren't automatically good at? Nobody is good at being a parent when they become a parent. You learn as you go. By choosing to not engage, you are choosing to fail. You are choosing to lose your wife and your children. How the this woman got to the point where she's like, maybe I did overreact. What? Also, like, OP, please tell me you've got family or friends or someone nearby that can jump in and help you, because having absolutely no help in the physical and emotional state that you're in with 2 babies there depending on you and having this asshat parade around like he's done something good with his life is unacceptable. It is unacceptable by the standards of humanity. It is not okay. And you know what, OP? The whole sex thing, and be like, look, buddy, when we did that before, this happened and this happened. I'll be damned if I'm going to let that happen again. You want to do the fun part and not follow through on anything at all. Not be a responsible man. You have a boy. You've got a boy, and that's it. You have another child. This guy, he's trash. He's ASCON 1. OP, you were NTA. This guy needs a wake-up call. I don't know what's going to be enough pain to create change for this monstrous piece of shit. I've seen wet shit that I like better than this guy. Candy Thunder, I want to know your thoughts here. Sweating inside this hoodie because I'm so pissed off. Ladies and gentlemen, to share her thoughts on it, which I'm sure are going to be very calm, very demure, is Candy Thunder.
If you don't like the word now would be a good time to mute your phone. I've said this, I think, twice, but this guy, one, I hope and I pray that this woman and any woman in this position, because we know that there are many women in this position, because I've already seen you in chat. I hope that you have support. I hope that you have support beyond your husband, because doing this on your own is one of the hardest things to do. And just sometimes it's harder to just walk away. And I think that it's important that we recognize that. But this guy can f off. And when he gets there, he can f off again. And when he gets to the f***ing golf course, he can f off, because he is one of the biggest pieces of shit that we have ever seen in all of the stories. In all 2 years that we've been reading these stories, thousands of stories, you are one of the biggest pieces of shit. And I know that this guy exists in more than just this story, because I've seen it, we've seen it, and people are talking about it. And f you for treating a woman like she's just there to have babies and that's it. Like, it's her job to raise them. But you know what? I hope that this woman does raise these children, and I hope that he gets no part in it, because break the cycle. What is it? Oh, it ends with us, because this is a form of abuse. And this, I don't know if he had a mom, I don't know if he had a dad, but whoever raised this piece of shit, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be
100%.
ashamed of yourself that you let this man marry a woman and treat her like this. If this was a woman treating a man like this, I would advocate just as hard, because I advocate for people and not just one specific gender. And this is bullshit. Raise your kids to be respectful. Raise your kids to be members of society that can contribute. And when you have a baby, it is not on the mom to take care of that baby. It takes two to make a baby. It takes two to raise a baby. But my God, if that second one is another child, then get the out, because I want no part of it. If I'm not going to have someone there that can be in my corner, that can help me so that I can actually just take a nap.
Or shower.
What's the point of you being in my life? What's the point of you walking through that door? Like, I really, really, really hope that this woman has support other than this man, because
It doesn't sound like she does, though, and that's the
I know.
scary part.
And there had to be signs before she got married, before she got pregnant. There had to be signs. And to me, the fact that she wants to know if she overreacted and that she's questioning herself means that she has been beat down in an emotional sense for a long time. Because no, you did not overreact. One, you were running on pure, like she said, pure adrenaline, no sleep. And you reacted in a way that is complete, like, at that point, you're like animalistic instincts. Like, you don't have your filters. You lose those. You lose so much of yourself when you don't sleep. And your husband just laughed at your face. So what the are you going to do? You didn't hit anyone. You broke his clubs. Warranted, I think.
Yeah,
I think you
absolutely.
should. I think you should break more of his shit.
Unscathed. Like, he's
Yep.
lucky he got out without the head of that driver shoved up his ass. He doesn't.
Yeah, I would take the golf clubs to the game room, man cave, your man cave, you piece of shit. And I would take the golf clubs and I'd just start swinging. And I don't care. I do not care. This is just utter bullshit. And he knows it. The guy knows it.
Oh yeah.
He's not scared of being a dad. This guy knows exactly what he's doing. And somebody made it okay for this man to act this way.
Which means his dad was probably this way.
But I don't care if you're, at this point, he's old enough. If you're old enough to have babies, you're old enough to make your own decisions. Grow the up, dude.
Got it. Nailed it. I think. I hope. I fucking hope so. We're gonna do it. Here's our winner for the first ever Black Hole Award. Don't know why I'm doing this with my hands. It's a hole. It's a black. You get it.